On number 14? We were on number 14? When the suspension was taken, we were on order number 14, and to that we shall return. Member for St. Philip South.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Very good afternoon to you, to our colleagues in Parliament, and to all Barbadians, especially those in St. Philip South, who have determined that they would repose their confidence in me to be able to address the concerns of this country and their concerns in this honorable chamber. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this morning I came to this honorable chamber totally inspired by the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme that was created by our economics team in an environment that suggested that we have to go out of the box in order for us to be able to sustain the economic growth and development in Barbados, maintain a social framework that will not lead to such decay that we may have social unrest in Barbados. And that equally, sir, that we, as a responsible government, that we have proven to be since the very day we were elected, would take control of this situation, given what has taken place with COVID-19, which none of us planned for, but all of us had to accept and be prepared to manage. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is on that note that I cast my mind back to the inaugural address of John F. Kennedy when he sought to implore or inspire American children and adults to understand the importance of civic action and public service. And so he told them, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, those words are today more apt than they have ever been in our entire post-history existence, because we have never, post-independence, because we have never had a COVID experience anywhere in the world. Certainly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Barbados has been challenged out of its skin to be able to come to terms with the reality of what COVID did, and that each and every one of us owe a debt of gratitude to the Minister and the Ministry of Health and Wellness for the way they managed the COVID pandemic. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Kennedy didn't only stop there. His speech basically challenged all leaders of the world. And it basically addressed how does a leader inspire a nation or a group of people to come to terms with their reality. And so I am determined in my mind, after hearing the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Member for St. Michael Northeast, and then the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Member for St. Michael West, that we have leadership in terms of where we are as a government, and that whilst I will not seek to use the words of a former Prime Minister of this same party, who said that the then government, when he was in opposition, treated the Parliament as poreki, I would have to say that the way we slanted these issues with relation to the BOSS program is nothing short of poreki politics. And I am saying so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because the issue of a cut was introduced. And we are not here to debate a cut in public servant salary. We are actually here to debate a Barbados optional savings scheme, which is pretty much needed at a time when people have no hope in the banking system. And this must not be taken out of context, because my grounding, as I've said several times in this honorable chamber, is in business. The one thing that is second nature for me is to understand investment and to understand how to make fiscal decisions when it relates to options in terms of what you can do to make the most out of your income. I'm not going to invest where it's costing me to invest. I will invest where I am seeing a return on that investment. And if this point was missed or lost on the honorable opposition leader, it is regrettable. But I have to state, and I know my history and my record in this honorable chamber should be nothing other than ethical and for the development of all persons in Barbados. And so I cannot, within good conscience, seek to twist a very genuine, sincere, and honest plan into something that is more of a political charge towards giving yourself relevance as a party who was not formed and elected during the last election, but actually created yourself out of an opportunity to be in opposition. I get that, and I fundamentally understand it. But what I do not understand is how you can take relevance out of a situation like this to build your political agenda at a time when people are more vulnerable than they ever have been. And this is where I take objection to the direction in which the debate went this morning. Because I, and I'm sure all of my colleagues, in addressing the needs of the people that we interact with, would first have to project two very fundamental things. One, we have to take responsibility for our country, and two, we have to take responsibility for our people. Therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I see no room for trying to turn a debate into a wages and salaries cut debate. It is unforgivable to my mind that any sincere, genuine, honest, and ethical person would want to turn this debate into a debate of salary and wages cut when it is simply not that type of debate. So that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, all the citations of what took place when we had to challenge the then administration under the now Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford for 8% salary cut is a moot point. Because it's not the debate we are having today. What we are having instead is a debate that seeks to anchor Barbadians into a reality that they have options with excess disposable income. That is the reality of it. That's the debate. This is not a debate about depriving anyone. That is why it is called an optional savings scheme. And for you to tell educated Barbadians that they're being forced into a salary or wages cut is, to my mind, absurd, to say the least, and I will say what I want to say about it on the political platform. But my respect for this honorable chamber would not allow me to go down there at this point. But I want to hone in on the point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that Barbadians should now wake up and look and see, according to good Barbadian parlance, who got the back. Because if I got your back, there ain't no way I'm going to mislead you into believing that you are better off taking your money and putting it elsewhere or opting out of an opportunity to gain 5% on your savings when you are losing money every month in the banking system. What manner of man would want to tell Barbadians, I got your back, but then would seek to mislead them and disguise them into believing that they're being taken advantage of? It is absurd, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and one that the country deserves an apology for. Because I cannot understand how we seek, first of all, to deal with the huge volumes of Barbadians who have become unemployed, not because of this government, not because of business people, simply because of a pandemic. And that whilst the numbers will continue to climb unless we act responsibly and make sure that we take control of the situation just like we did during the times that we had to introduce measures to mitigate the spread, then how do you say to Barbadians, your salary is being cut? There is no salary cut, Mr. Deputy Speaker. No Barbadian is being forced into anything. And the simple notes that we have on the BOSS program speak clearly to options available. You want it, you take it. You don't want it, you get your full salary in cash. Well, how that can be a salary cut? And so my constituents and your constituents must now listen to a bunch of confusion over a matter that has been so simply put and placed for all reasonable thinking persons to look at and understand. It must now become a pile of political confusion to anchor a political relevance. I don't get it. Because we're not at that stage. And I frankly believe that at this stage, all of us in this together, called COVID ain't picking out nobody. It ain't picking out the Barbados Labour Party. It ain't picking out the Democratic Labour Party. It ain't picking out the PDP. COVID is COVID. It is what we have to adjust to and live with. So that when you can tell people who I personally interact with, who I personally understand the struggle that they go through when they weren't prepared. Many of them don't have any savings to fall back on. I have tons of WhatsApp messages coming to me from people asking for help to pay the bills, to pay a mortgage. People are extremely vulnerable during this period simply because they never planned for it. The BOSS program now gives people a chance in Barbados to, rather than take excess disposable income, go to a shop and buy a long neck and have a good time with some friends, go somewhere in the dead of night and pick up a friend and do some things that are purely for nocturnal activity, or to use your money in gambling or other things where you're not guaranteed a rate of return, but that you can now have an opportunity to earn 5% on every single bond that you receive under the BOSS program. Somebody is going to look at me and tell me that Barbadians shouldn't accept the cutting your salary. But if I hearing this and don't feel that I need to visit Jenkins, then the orator should. Because it is a massive misunderstanding of what is before us. And that if I am to stand in this honorable chamber and to accept or even listen to and digest a deliberate attempt to mislead Barbadians into believing that this is a salary cut debate. So I must cite what David Simmons said in the debate. I must cite what Johnny Cheltenham said. I must cite what Henry Ford said. They're two completely different debates, you know. Completely different. But I do not understand the link between this debate and the one that took place at the time when we, as a responsible party, fought to make sure Barbadians are not unfair and disadvantaged by a salary cut, and we turn around and change the legislation to make sure it will never happen again. So I do not understand. You must give me the linkage. Make sense to me so I can follow you. But if I can't follow the rhetoric simply because you're on a political stampede, then clearly I have to take distance from what you're saying. I cannot do other than distance myself, because I refuse to be tainted in any discussion in this honorable chamber that is less than honorable. I can't do it. My conscience wouldn't let me do it, and the people of St. Philip South would not let me do it. I will not encourage my colleagues to get involved in it, and so therefore, as far as I am concerned, this is a historic moment in Barbados. It is historic because it is a blatant attempt to mislead people in this country into believing that we are in a salaries cut debate. It is simply not that. But go to your constituencies and look at the amount of people who don't have savings right now. Who would have been happy to be able to fall back to that buffer and say, I don't necessarily need you because I can help myself? We don't have that. And so that a responsible government with a vision of a responsible leader sought to make sure that as we come out of this over the next 4 years, that's what the 4 years is all about. Barbadians would have something to fall back on. It's not going to happen in a year. It's not going to happen in 2 years. It will take time. So that you dare question the period is to suggest that is one of those instruments where you're so locked in. You're so locked in that you don't have the flexibility of getting out. Well, again, that is not part of this debate because it is an optional saving scheme. So that at any point in time along the way, you can say, I am going to cash out of this. Whatever I have accumulated, I want the cash for. Many other instruments lock you in for a prolonged period of time. And that is why I asked the question, what if it was 10 years? I mean, what would the debate be like? Because most of these instruments take you well up into 10, 15 years. And I can't show me anyone in Barbados right now that can go to a bank with large sums of money and get 5% interest. And I know what this is about. Because I stood in this honorable chamber already in 2018 and castigated the banks for the huge amount of charges that the people in Barbados have to pay in order to put their money in the safety of the bank's vaults. So that if you're going to have an opposition voice, that voice should be about this. Why is it that you can't get 5% savings? This is the conversation I want to be part of in the banking system. So that if I tell the people of Barbados, don't trust the government, they can go to the bank. We don't have that kind of conversation anymore. And that is the reason why this party got 30 seats in the last election. Because we define ourselves to be different from the political rhetoric that has been taking place over time and what I've heard again this morning. That is why. You see, because people are asking for leadership. People are asking for inspired leadership. People are asking you to define yourself and show how different you are from the others in the past. And that you can come here and insult my intelligence into believing that we are into a salaries cut debate tells me you're not even ready to form an administration or an opposition party. Because you have to be genuinely and sincerely interested in the cause of all Barbadians. Don't mislead people for your own cause. And I take objection to that. And I take serious umbrage to the citations given by those honorable members who served this party and served in this honorable chamber when they were fighting the fight that we started to fight way back then when we started the labor movement in Barbados. This is the party that started the labor movement. That is the reason why we are consulting with the social partnership before we take any decision. But for me now to hear that this is some kind of sinister plan that didn't include the support of some members of the social partnership and trade unions boggles my mind. Because I've been sitting there. Now, you would have to ask yourself, and I would ask the people of Barbados, who would you vote for after hearing this morning and what you're going to hear this afternoon? Because I could not possibly trust anyone who sets me up into believing that my salary is going to be cut when I know that that is not the case. I couldn't do it. I mean, it reminds me of a biblical story that I personally don't believe. That a serpent went to Eve and told her, don't eat of a forbidden tree. It reminds me of that. So that the people of Barbados are being told, don't take of a forbidden decision because you will suffer. And all of us know that this is not about a salary cut. So these fairy tales that we come with to make people believe that there's some sinister plan designed to hurt them, but then you can turn around and tell them, take it if you want to take it. Choose a side of the road. Choose a side of the road. Otherwise, you're going to create chaos. All right? And I know that the BOSS program is about options. It gives you options. But I can tell you personally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have been elected here for a reason. And every time I stand up to speak, I'm seeing it more and more. Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I could not tell the people of St. Philip South that they're being led into a sinister plan to their disadvantage, only for them to rise up against the plan to find out that they're worse off in the end. I could not tell the people of Barbados in good conscience that the banking system will charge them monthly for their own money going into the bank's vault, and that they should accept that. And that if they have options available to them to have their money protected the same way, but that they would get a 5% return rather than lose money, that I should even incite them into believing that there's a sinister plan afoot. This is the distinct difference. The difference between us as an administration and a thwarted, poor political agenda that is part of all of what young Barbadians are saying we don't want to see or hear anymore. It's a difference. And I implore all Barbadians to start to understand and see who the real friends are. That is the point. They now need to take fresh guard and start to recognize who has the ball in hand. Because I am telling you that are we not careful in this country, all disregard and disrespect for all we have gained during COVID, all we have done to protect our citizens, all the humanitarian efforts that went into making sure that Barbadians are safe, creating opportunities for Barbadians to receive checks every month to help contribute to their daily existence, $600. We made sure that we set up a unit, the Housing Mitigation Unit, to reach out to Barbadians, to make sure that the Adopt a Family program can be carried out. And this wasn't forced on anyone. We asked people to volunteer to participate. But Barbadians got help from right-thinking Barbadians who have a human heart and understanding that we have to take care of the vulnerable. And that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have been able to achieve all of this at a time when the country was going through its greatest challenge. The entire world was being challenged by this. We didn't lose as many people per capita as the US did or Italy did. Small island like us that don't have the financial resources, we didn't. We were able to respond. But what it is that we are asking Barbadians at this juncture, and to me, this ethos in politics is more about leadership than it is about anything else. It is, and I'll tell you why. The characteristics of the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme. 1, creation of approximately $154 million fiscal space for capital spending for over 18 months. Now, you don't have to be an economist. You don't even have to understand mathematics or finance. But you should simply understand that if there's going to be capital works going on in the country, what is the next obvious thing that can follow? Employment. Employment. But what do you want to do? You want to cocoon people into believing that there's a sinister plan and don't participate, and then we don't get the jobs? I don't understand it. And I'm sure all the people of St. Michael West must be now sitting down and saying, when is next election? Because we're giving back the Barbados Labour Party 30 seats. I believe so. I strongly believe so. And I equally look at point number 2. Protect public sector employment.
Remember, you have 3 minutes more.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I will get through. Protect public sector employment. Protect public sector employment. That's what it is about. And there are no salary cuts. But we're protecting their employment. That's what it is. And then, adherence to the principle of burden sharing. We're not a selfish government. How many times we've heard the Prime Minister say we have to all hands make, many hands make light work. No work make light hands. And no work make light hands, according the honorable member from Christchurch, West Central. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, how can I in good conscience lead the people of St. Philip South into believing that they're getting a salary cut when they're not? How can I lead the people of St. Philip South into believing that they should keep their money in the bank, don't participate, and let the bank charge you every month for keeping your money in their vault when you can get 5% and your money's still safe? How can I lead the people of Barbados into believing that there is a better plan right now waiting for them, and that post-COVID, the one lesson we should all learn is that we must have something set aside for a rainy day? Look at the ants. You see how hard they work leading up to winter? And you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this thing humbugs me, you know. Because the reality of it is that I know that most people are in favor of this BOSS program. I went to visit a farm in River in St. Philip, and a good old gentleman who was around for a long time went on that site inspection with me, and he said to me, "I want to tell you something, Minister. That BOSS program got the right name. It's going to be oversubscribed. I know about investment. I have been around for a long time. And I want to tell you all are doing an excellent job in this country. I fully support all that you're doing. And I fully support this government, because were we in the hands of another administration, we might have been all wiped out." Mr. Deputy Speaker, these are the words of Barbadians on the street. So that I will end by saying, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is sad, and today, basically for me, is a very sad day in this honorable chamber, that we would seek to change a debate that was designed purely to give Barbadians economic power by having savings and getting 5% interest when compared to what they're getting in the banking system. And so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to leave this on the minds of all Barbadians to reflect on. Because the one thing all of us in here will agree to is that this is not a salary cut debate. I'm obliged to you, Mr.
Thank you.
Deputy Speaker.
Member for Christchurch East Central? West Central, sorry. West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sorry. Mr. Deputy Speaker, first of all, I don't intend to be laborious today, but I just want to say a special good evening to those good people who nestle in the epicenter of Christchurch, of course, the good constituency of Christchurch, West Central. And I want to say to them to continue to follow the established protocols of the Ministry of Health, because we were able to weather the storm thus far. And I want to say today, and let me pay special homage to the Minister, the Member of Parliament for the City of Bridgetown, for carrying the fight on behalf of all Barbadians. And in his words that redounded to each one of us, no retreat, no surrender. Hats off to you for the Member of Parliament for the city. But we, Mr. Deputy Speaker, were faced with a pandemic of SARS, second only to the 1918 Spanish flu, which infected about 500 million persons. We had about 50 million deaths. But in recent history, we have never been faced with a pandemic like the COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, which so far has affected about 8 million people, caused about 450,000 deaths. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it was a travesty and tragedy of epic proportions. And it has destroyed not only the social systems and fabric across the world, but it has destroyed economies. And so in Barbados, I want to say to all members who work assiduously to buffer the effects of COVID, I want to say a heartfelt thanks that we were able to weather the storm so that we only had 97 persons up to date infected, 7 deaths, unfortunately. It shows that we had the systems in place and that we were proactive and that we had the astute and confident leadership that was required. We were fit for purpose, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And we are now showing the entire country, and certainly the entire world, that we are fit for the economic purpose as well. I don't have to be an economist to know that the boss plan is the exact and perfect fit for the situation that we are faced with. And what does BOSS mean? The Barbados Optional Savings Scheme. And when I say optional, Mr. Speaker, I am sure before you come into this August chamber, there was an option to use the elevator or the stairs. You may burn more calories. At your age, you may need that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But there was an option, and an option gives persons choices.
Sure.
The option in this scheme, obviously recognizing that you are using bonds, is if you are going to take the bonds as we know it, and a bond is really the acronym for me, for a beginning or the beginning of a new dawn. It has introduced into this country a new dawn in a new dimension, a new way of saving. When persons were subjected to less than 1% in the banking system as it relates to interest rates, we have come up with creativity, using good economic prudence, with a bond where persons over 4 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, can realize those bonds at 5% interest. It is, as I said, the beginning of a new dawn. And I want to implore every single Barbadian, young and old, to be part of this exercise. The young persons, of course, and those new young business persons, because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as part of recovery, as part of Barbadians being able to lift themselves from this depression, government must come with countercyclical measures that redound to an economic bubble, a growth. And we have moved from current expenditure, Mr. Speaker, and place it under capital expenditure. In simple terms, we have now allowed the capital projects to be the major projects as it relates to finding employment and empowerment for our people. And there's no better way to circulate money in the country than to giving the average Barbadian disposable income. And that's basic economics here. Disposable income.
Yes.
And that is why I was so happy yesterday. And I said, this is really the day that the Lord has made. It is. It is a time that the Lord has made for us. And and we will rejoice and be glad with it. And this, I said this yesterday when I visited those 4 sites of the building blocks. I was happy. And when you are talking about counter-cyclical management, I call it pro-cyclical as well. Because in my ministry, the pro-cyclical is the youth advance score. But the counter-cyclical right now as I speak is the building blocks project. When you are talking about capital projects, and giving persons the opportunity to have a tangible stake in this country and to put young people back to work, these are the measures that this government must champion. And I was happy yesterday when I heard from the young people themselves their vision. And I always say that once in a lifetime, Mr. Deputy Speaker, once in a lifetime, that tidal wave of change will rise up. And hope and history will reign. The hope, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is my background for helping our people every day. That's what we have to do in these times. The history is when young persons, for the first time since independence, will have an opportunity to have a tangible stake and a commercial space in Barbados like never seen before. And that is what the Member of Parliament for St. Michael North East, that is one of her single focus and mission in this country, to engage our young people and to put the future of this country in a place where they can carry Barbados the next 20, 30 years. In other words, it is the opportunity to live the Barbadian dream, or the Bajan dream as you know it. But what this COVID has done for us is that it has brought about a level of creativity. And I see you wearing that mask on your face, Mr. Deputy Speaker. A young person probably in St. George North made it for you. I know the good man that you are, you paid for it too. But I know that before COVID, you would not have seen that mask on your face. And before COVID, but no, I'm serious. Before COVID,
I will be wearing a mask.
the virtual technology that we see our young people involved in, the way how we do business, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you were part of a virtual group chat in terms of parliamentary chat.
Yes.
In your years as a sexagenarian, you would never believe, Mr. Deputy Chair, that you would ever have a meeting using virtual science.
Yes.
Never.
True. Has changed the way of business.
But I'm saying that the COVID allowed us to enter into a new dimension,
Yes.
a new frontier, where young persons were able to make from hand sanitizers. They were able to make the mask as you know it.
Yes.
I saw young persons in the Polytechnic making face shields using virtual science. This is the type of ingenious potential and creative imagination of our young people that we must buttress as a nation. And COVID has shown us that there is now a new and efficient way of doing business. So out of COVID, we have got the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme. A scheme that is going to allow us, Barbadians, and take us into a journey and a new way of saving. And as I said, the operative word there is optional. You have the option whether to take the bond or to take your money. And it also allows us, young and old, not only in the public sector, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the private sector as well, to be able to buy in this whole operation. The young and the old, those in the twilight of their years, can also invest through the central bank. So persons who are not willing to take the bonds up front will have the opportunity to redeem those bonds for cash because it's optional. Redeem those bonds for cash, and other persons, Mr. Deputy Speaker, like yourself and your family and your children, will be able to have the opportunity to buy those bonds and to redeem the interest in 4 years' time at 5%. Never heard of before. And when you look around the world and see how other countries respond to this pandemic, I want to say that Barbados is leading the way in terms of how we will respond in a social and economic way. We are a fine example for every single country around the world. So I want to say a big thank you to the whole economic team and to the labor movement, to the public sector and the workers, to those good people in Christchurch by Central who have been calling me, asking me, Minister, how do I get involved in this whole bond savings plan? How do I be able to access these things? This has stimulated interest of every right-thinking Barbadian. I don't know about the wrong-thinking ones. The right-thinking Barbadians have bought into a plan because it made sense. It made sense. It gives you the opportunity, and Mr. Deputy Speaker, the credit unions are a part of it. Because you can't have sustainable development, whether it's a small open economy like Barbados or a big economy, unless you have partnership. Partnerships are an important cog of sustainable development. How we partner with our people. And we said from the inception as a government, since 2018, that we will never walk in front of Barbadians because there's a possibility that they may not follow. We said we will not walk behind because there's a possibility that they may not lead. But we said as a government we will walk side by side in the journey of every Barbadian to realize their true potential. That is what we said as a government. Barbadians, as I said before, are not only straight guardians of their heritage, Mr. Davis, they're fair craftsmen of their faith. And this has given them the opportunity to become fair craftsmen of their faith. And the next 4 years, they will be able to enjoy the fruits of their investment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have to govern. We understand the fluidity of the situation we are faced with. We understand this is a pandemic that has not only visited our shores, every single country in the world, bigger than Barbados, suffered from the devastation. You were hearing about global warming before this. But this has taken the interests of every single country in the world. And it doesn't have a race, creed, religious, or any other idiosyncrasy. It affects any person, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So, this boss scheme that we have, Barbados Optional Savings Scheme, that we have articulated and augmented on behalf of the good people of this country, will give Barbadians the opportunity to invest in something that is worth it. There's an old adage that says that a bird in your hand worth two in the bush. We are giving them the opportunity to have that little birdie in their hand. And that birdie is in the form of a bond. As I said before, it's my background name for the Barbados, the beginning, of a new dawn. This is really the beginning of a new dawn. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I said, it will be short because I want to give my unreserved and unequivocal support to this boss bill. I sincerely support it. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will leave in closing. It is a little maxim that I put together. And it says basically, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we in Barbados, we believe when others doubt. Others outside the world doubting themselves. We believe. We believe in the Minister of Health and the entire team in terms of providing the protocols and the guidance during our COVID pandemic and our COVID exercise. As I said, it was a tremendous job on behalf of the government of the day. We plan, Mr. Deputy Speaker, while others play. You see what happened in America. We plan as a government while others play. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we will study while others sleep. We don't have no time for rest. No retreat, no surrender. We decide when others delay. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we came with decisions. The boss plan is one. Where others were mazzy-pazzying, if that's a word that could be used in this August chamber. When others pander into doubt, we decide. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we work while others wish. This is not a whimsical, frivolous exercise. This BOSS program is something that has been thought out long, hard. It has its scientific evaluation and its scientific basis in terms of the economic result that we are looking at. So whilst others wish, we as a government work assiduously and with a pace to get this plan in place to help buttress this economy at this point in time. Mr. Deputy Speaker, and lastly, we as a government persist when others quit. Again, no retreat, no surrender. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm obliged.
And I say, member St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I will be very brief. I will be, sir. I will be. Sir, I want to begin, as all the other members did, by thanking the people of St. Michael South for giving me this opportunity to be here in this room and to say a few words, sir, on this most transformative program that is before all of us in this house. Sir, I thought about it for a second, and I started thinking, sir, that this is a program of peace. And first of all, sir, we are dealing with a pandemic. We are dealing with a pandemic, sir. And it is unwise, I think, for us to come and apply all kinds of old knowledge to a situation that has changed. To try to apply tools, sir, that are as relevant today, sir, it would be like trying to drive down the road now using big rocks for wheels. Sir, to use the tools that, sir, are now extinct. To try to apply that kind of analysis, sir, to what we are dealing with, sir, now is irrelevant. We are dealing with a pandemic, sir. And for any of us in this room who could pretend that we, before this started, sir, knew it was coming or that we would be equipped to deal with it, sir, governments all over the world are struggling to address this particular pandemic. It is not brought on us, sir, by our own inefficiencies, sir, or any incompetence on our part. It is something, sir, that has been thrust upon us because this is the way of the world. And this pandemic, sir, I was told once a story of a man who once wanted to cross a river. And he had a canoe, sir, finally. He searched and searched and searched till he found one. And he was allowed to cross the river, sir. But he was so thankful to the canoe when he got on the other side, sir, that he carried it everywhere he went. And he carried it, sir. He said in the midst of prosperity, he was suffering because he carried his canoe. Because, sir, there is a point at which something that is an asset becomes a liability. You have to know when to put them down, sir. And there are people in this room, sir, who are bringing things to this debate that they should put down. Because that kind of thinking, sir, is not an asset. It is the canoe of thought. It is a liability. And that we have to apply reason to the situation that we now find ourselves in, sir. The circumstances before us demand of us that we not elevate our level of thinking and the level of discourse, but it demands of us, because we are in this place, that we lead and that we apply ourselves, sir, to some kind of honesty in the way we analyze circumstances, sir. We have to know when to put our canoes down. And sir, we came here, sir, having to handle a pandemic, sir. I mean, the truth is that Barbados stands now above the rest of the world in many, many ways, sir. And a lot of that, sir, depended, sir, on the leadership that we got from our Honorable Prime Minister. And a lot of it, sir, the leadership that we got from the Minister of Health, sir, the representative from the city, sir. We should come to this place, sir, and thank those who led. And if we are honest, sir, those who are still leading. But sir, you are bound to find what you're good looking for. You are bound to find what you go looking for. And because there are some people, sir, two people could look at the exact same thing and based on how they're perceiving it, see two completely different things. Because when I look at this BOSS program, sir, whether you want to call it BOSS, well, BOSS crime, BOSS something, to suggest, sir, that there's something negative, sir, I really see something that is positive for the people. Would any of us in this room believe that we would like to see civil servants give up a portion of their salary? No. Nobody wants that, sir. But if you speak to the very public servants, there is a decency in Barbadians. There is a decency in Barbadians, sir, that all of us in this room should associate ourselves with. Because I know the Barbadian people across the Caribbean, sir, sometimes refer to Barbadians as being docile. They're soft. People say all kinds of things. But there is a maturity in the way the Barbadian populace approaches these kinds of things. There is a decency and a maturity in the Barbadian public. So that allows Barbadians, when they trust their leadership, it allows the leadership to be able to take tough decisions, sir, because they are mature enough to understand it. And those of us in this room, sir, must be mature enough to understand it too. So that what is happening before us, whether we try to incite unnecessary upheaval, sir, in the minds of people, what is happening, sir, is that there is a mature Barbadian public, a mature Barbadian civil service, who understands that that which is before us, sir, is unprecedented and are prepared to do what they have to do to save this country, to save their fellow public servants, to save their friends, and to save their families, sir, because Barbadians understand that that is who we are, sir. And it is that level of decency, sir, that we must understand in this debate. Put down your canoe. Because right now, sir, you are applying tools, some people, sir, not you, I apologize, are applying tools that are irrelevant to understanding that which is, it is unfortunate, I think, trying to understand this thing, sir, and applying those tools that do not matter, sir. That is who Barbadians are. And it has always been so. When a Barbadian, sir, civil service trust, the leadership, sir, they will do the things that they have to do. Because they're saying, I would rather take a cut, sir, and see other people eat and work in this country than to try to hold on to all and watch people go home and suffer. If that is not the height of decency, if the Barbadian civil service should not be praised for doing the right thing, sir, then nothing, sir, in the minds of people will be considered decent. I came here, sir, to thank the Barbadian public service, sir, for being the kind of public service that they are. I came to thank the people of Barbados, sir, for being the kind of people that they are. That is the first thing we have to understand, sir, in relation to the pandemic, sir. The second P has to be about people. We have to understand our own people, sir. And that we can, I've been through St. Michael South, sir, and people telling me gladly that they would rather give up something than to see other people suffer. I see people now in shops offering a little bit more credit to other people, sir, because they know too that people are suffering. Everybody trying to give somebody a little bit of an ease. Everybody trying to help everybody else out. All 30 people in this room trying to help minus one. All 30 minus one trying to help everybody else out, sir. Because that is who we are, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I have no issues whatsoever, sir, with somebody objectively trying to look at a circumstance and saying, in my mind, based on the objective evaluation of that which is before us, we cannot support this. But to be going down these kinds of lines, sir, for whatever reason, I've been listening to the analysis, and to bring all kinds of analysis, sir, it is like, it was told of a doctor wanting to perform the perfect operation, sir, in removing a man's hand. And the issue really has something to do with his heart. So if it is like listening to I listened to the perfect speech on something completely irrelevant to what we're dealing with here. I listened to a politician, sir, delivering a speech on a hand, sir, when we are discussing a heart. The reality of the circumstances before us, sir, if you pivot your entire analysis and your diagnosis, sir, on the wrong thing, that everything that comes afterwards, sir, is wrong. If your diagnosis of the situation is wrong, then everything that follows after is wrong. Your diagnosis, sir, not yours, but the diagnosis, sir, that was given in here was wrong by the member for St. Michael West. And consequently, well, there was no recommendations. I would have said the recommendations were wrong, but there were none. Consequently, that which followed was wrong. And I feel, sir, a little aggrieved, sir, because what is happening in this country, sir, is too important to bring it down to politics. It is too important to bring it down to politics. If you misdiagnose, you're going to ill-treat. It is clear. And it is too significant, sir, to bring this debate down to politics. I would like to think, sir, that for all of us involved in this struggle, because that is what it is. And there are all kinds of struggles. Sir, what is going on in the world now is begging of people that they elevate themselves. That is what is going on in the world now. That we elevate ourselves, sir, that we come here, sir, and that we position ourselves, sir, in a way that people can look up to us and say, this is the kind of leadership that we want now, because the world demands leadership of people. That is where we are, sir. My third piece, sir, is the program. I don't intend to be long, but my third P is the program, sir. If you analyze the program all over the world, people now in positions of leadership are struggling, trying to determine what program should we bring now to be able to help people. How do we, sir, in these circumstances, develop a scheme, sir, a financial position, sir, that is able to help people, sir, get through this very difficult time? None of us in this room, sir, not one of us would have thought a year ago that we would have been here. In fact, sir, I would have told my constituents, sir, the first year we spent trying to clean up the mess of the Democratic Labour Party. The first year and a half, 2 years. But the third year we all anticipated, sir, given the trajectory that the country was on and the wonderful work done by the finance team, the Prime Minister and so on, that we would now be reaping the benefits of our hard work. But we're not, sir. We're dealing with COVID. So people now have to come up with a program, sir, that made sense in the circumstances for them and for their various countries. We had to develop one, sir, that was relevant to our country. And the one that I believe that we have developed, sir, is BOSS. It is a BOSS program, sir. And beyond the name, sir, if you think about it, we are able, sir, to get through this, sir, in the public service without sending home a single person. Would you rather we try to maintain people's salaries and people themselves, because the people chose, try to maintain their salaries as they know it, sir, because we did not make a single cut. Not a single cut. Would you rather, sir, that people not enter into this program, thereby exposing other people? No. And that Barbadians are making a choice, and that they've entered into a program, sir, that would allow them to allow other people to survive. You know, in the debt restructuring, sir, there was a climate resilient clause. And that clause allowed us, sir, the benefit of, in a way, repurposing money, but it would allow us, sir, in the event that there was a climate event of some proportion, that we would then not have to pay back on our payments, sir, but we would be able to repurpose that money for something else. Primarily, sir, capital works. If you think about the BOSS program, sir, in essence, it is the same thing. We are using a crisis, sir, and repurposing the money to be able to do some capital works, sir. So we are not only preventing people from going home in a crisis, sir, we are employing people in the very same crisis through this very innovative enterprising approach. Now, how can this be wrong, sir? How can it be? We have not only saved jobs, we are creating jobs as a result of the approach that we are taking, sir. The program is BOSS. And it is very difficult, sir, for us to come here and accept that it is a cut. Well, if I lose 10% of my salary, if 10% of my salary get cut, then I know I lost 10% of my salary. But if I get in bonds that eventually can generate more money than they were at 5%, sir, well, how can that be a cut? Well, how can you be getting more in the end and telling me I get cut? Well, I am not an idiot, sir. If you are going to oppose the program, oppose the structure of it. Say that you don't support it. But to come, sir, and fundamentally say that the program is what it is not, sir, it's to mislead the public of this country. And we should not mislead the public, sir, in Barbados, sir. And I feel, sir, when I think about what we are doing here, sir, look, I am bringing, hopefully, sir, I'm having conversations now about a debt financial swap. And I explained it before. I'm not going to get into it now, sir. But the truth is, when Barbados was going to put our position out there, the idea was that we would be able to sell the bonds, sir, at below par. But Barbados was performing so well, sir, that nobody was buying our bonds below. Nobody was selling them below par. As a matter of fact, there was a point at which we were selling above par. People had so much faith in this country. It is a terrible thing, you know, when people have faith in you and your people, and you do not have faith in the very same people. It is a terrible, terrible thing, sir. And it causes me, sir, to reflect on myself, and I hope it causes other people to reflect on themselves too. It is a terrible thing when people have faith in a country, when the countrymen don't have faith in the very country, sir. So that to the extent that our bonds were trading so high, sir, we couldn't even enter at that time into the debt swap. Because nobody was selling Barbados bonds for less. These bonds, sir, are safe. And that is what I feel Barbadians have to know. Because people are trying to plant all kinds of seeds, you know. People are trying to plant all kinds of seeds. It's like when the worm eases in and try to plant the seeds in the middle of the fruit. So that by the time you open the fruit, it's corrupt. People are planting seeds. These bonds are safe, sir. And if Barbadians can afford it, sir, if the public servants can afford it, sir, they should take it. The other thing is, sir, the question was raised, why, if it is so special, why only for the public servants? But I have to ask the other question, sir. If it is so special, why not for the public servants? That is the question that you have to ask. Why not for the public servants, sir? Well, I am beginning to wonder if we think the public servants, not we, if the members, sir, thought that public servants are lesser people, if some people are created less equal than others in his mind, if it is so good, why not for the public servants should be the question that is being asked. Not if it is so good, how come only for the public servants? Well, public servants are special people. It is so good that they deserve it, sir. And that is how I feel we have to approach this program. And that I speak, sir, in these terms because I feel, sir, And I had no intention, sir, of speaking, but I feel, sir, that when we come here, we must elevate the discourse. And that this moment in time, sir, when people look back on it, sir, history will be kind to this Barbados Labour Party. History will be kind to the people of Barbados, and those around the region who say Barbadians are docile and this are the same very ones who are saying we want Miss Mia Mottley to be our Prime Minister, checking in the social media feeds. The same ones who are saying we wish we had this same approach, sir. It is our maturity. It is our discipline. It is our civility. It is our understanding, sir, of the big picture that allows Barbadians to be able to make the kinds of decisions that the leadership in Barbados makes, sir, from time to time. And finally, sir, my last P is progress, sir. We came here, sir, promising the people of this country that we will move the country from one state to another. And we promised, sir, in many ways, sir, and we were on the way to doing it, and we still are. Digitizing the country. When the COVID started, sir, the port was able to move very quickly, sir, because the port had already become very digitized. And that we were moving, sir, in a way, having regular meetings to ensure that the other agencies, the other government agencies that we work with, sir, were also in the digital platform. So that there would have been things, sir, transactions that took days and weeks that we were doing in hours and days, because we had already prepared ourselves for the digital revolution, sir. That is progress. We had also said as a country, sir, there were some investments, sir, that we felt we had to make, sir. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central, the representative, the Minister of Youth, sir, making innovative moves, sir, to help young people through all of this. And I am careful, I am mindful, sir. I now have 2 daughters. I am mindful.
2 daughters.
And I know the member for St. Michael West will want to congratulate me afterward. But I am mindful, sir. He's my friend. But I am mindful. I am mindful, sir, that at the end of the day, sir, there's a whole set of young people, sir, not only watching this debate, but they're waiting to see, sir, how will Barbados handle this? How will we respond, sir? We carry the weight of a nation on our shoulders. This moment, sir, we all accept, we all accept that this is not a regular moment in time. But what we don't seem to accept is that at the end of the day, how we deal with it will come to define the rest of our lives, sir, and the rest of the lives of many, sir. That is why I feel that we have to approach this whole debate with a modicum, sir, of decency and a whole lot, sir, of honesty. And there is no need, I think, sir, for me to get overly intellectual about the platform and what we are seeking to do, sir. I think that all Barbadians already know that we are doing the right thing. And that we will navigate this, sir, to the best of our ability, sir, and bring progress to this country. We are on our way to doing it, sir. It is obvious to me. So, sir, I said I wasn't going to be long, sir, and I wish to conclude by thanking all those who spoke, sir. I really feel, sir, indebted to the Honourable Member for the City, the Minister of Health, because he has been outstanding in the way that he has approached this, sir. Barbadians feel safe. People feel safe. I have a friend from New York who came and could get out of the country just before COVID. She didn't. She is telling me now that she could imagine no other place to be than in Barbados. Her family and friends in the developed world in the U.S., sir, envying her because of the way we are handling the crisis in Barbados, sir. It is the best place on the earth to be. So I wish to congratulate the entire team, sir. I want to thank the Prime Minister. I want to thank the Honourable Member for St. Michael South East, who led during a significant portion of this too, for outstanding leadership, sir. Because at the end of the day, sir, we are family. Not only the Labour Party family, but obviously the Labour Party family, but we are family in this country. I feel the pain, sir, of all of my people, sir, who may not be able to afford, sir, to take the bonds. And I am so relieved that they can get the cash, sir, if they cannot do so. That is genius. It is genius, sir. So let us apply our hearts to wisdom, as the Honourable Prime Minister always says. Sir, apply our hearts to wisdom. And let that which is decent inside of us, sir, come out. My mother used to say to her man, what is inside a man can eventually come out. I believe that which is decent should come out in this moment. If something less than decent comes out in this moment, well, but what's inside a man is eventually going to come out. Let us, sir, let that which is decent inside all of us show itself in this moment, sir. I commend this bill to you, sir. I support it fully, sir, and I want to thank the leadership of the Labour Party for what they have done here. Thank you very much, sir.
Well said. Member for St. George South.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And indeed, I rise to join this debate after some excellent presentations by my colleagues, member for St. Philip South, member for St. Michael South, and indeed our esteemed Prime Minister, the member for St. Michael Northeast. But I also want to thank the member for St. Michael West for joining the debate. And we were taught, and I came to office as a parliamentary representative for that beautiful constituency of St. George South, and no disrespect to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We are from St. George, but I have to let you know mine is the best and yours second. No disrespect to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But we came to this honorable chamber back in 2013 after a hard-fought election. And I recall some stalwarts of the Labour Party saying to us, 5 of our new elected members, my good friend for the city, whom I will speak about shortly, and in Bajan parlance, I have to big him up. But we were taught by the stalwarts of the party and our seniors, the member for St. Thomas, who's here with us. She was always here with us. The member for St. Andrew, the member for St. James Central, the esteemed Prime Minister. We were taught not to oppose for opposing's sake. We were also taught that when we oppose, don't just oppose. Bring something positive to the people of this country and to the table. I spent today, and I'm a friend of the member for St. Michael West, spoke on my political platform. I walked with him, and he too is from that belief, that doctrine of not opposing for opposing's sake. He deviated somewhat today. He deviated somewhat today. Because I thought there was nothing esoteric about the BOSS program until I heard the member for St. Michael West. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the member because his interpretation, and I'm certain that the stalwarts of the Labour Party government at the time, who listened to the quotes from the member for St. Michael West. And I received a call from one of them who insisted that I speak. And I won't say who that person is. A sir. And he said at the time, we were defending the civil servants from a salary cut. This is what he said. We were defending the civil servants from a salary cut. Those were the words. And I speak on behalf of those stalwarts who were misrepresented today in this chamber. And the honorable member for St. Michael Southeast got up on a point of order. And I follow suit here to let the honorable member and the public know that those honorable members who are sirs in this country can defend the position they took at the time. Circumstances change. We are talking about 1991. This is what? 2020. And I can speak about the Spanish flu back in 1917 when D.W. Sutherland was the mayor of Kelowna. That's it. In Canada. I am D.G. Sutherland. I'm not D.W. Sutherland. And I think the honorable member for the city took that post of mayor because he spoke. And I will quote. Let me quote for you. Deputy Speaker, the mayor then said, D.W. Sutherland, he said a public notice is hereby given that in order to prevent the spread of the Spanish influenza, all schools, public and private churches, theaters, moving picture halls, pool rooms, and other places of amusement and lodge meetings are to be closed until further notice. All public gatherings consisting of 10 or more are prohibited. That was D.W. Sutherland, the mayor then, of Kelowna.
What year?
In Canada, 1917, those years of the Spanish flu. I pause at this time to congratulate, he's not D.W. Sutherland, but he's Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostick and the Ministry of Health and those frontline workers who took a similar stance. When you read that and you listen to the colonel, the minister, member for the city, you understand that was 1917 and we're in 2020. But the member spoke about 1991 and we're in 2020. Facing a pandemic, facing loss of revenues of over $100 million, facing over 45,000 over unemployment claims. The member for Christchurch East Central will speak, and the member for St. Michael's South Central, she will speak as well. I want to draw out, I'd love to hear her. And we were facing losses, revenue decline by over 500 million. And I want to share this document with the member for St. Michael West. We have to create the context. I don't think any of us, member for Christchurch East Central, I would like you to take the member for St. Michael West to a little private room and go through this document with him, please, because he spoke out of context. And I heard the member for St. Philip South and St. Michael South spoke about the cuts that the member referenced. This is no cut. And I will get to that part of my presentation shortly. I have respect for the member. I'm not tearing him down. I am creating the context in which the average Barbadian must understand what we are doing as a government. We can sit and do nothing. We can twiddle our thumbs. We can allow this slide. Government projected revenue as per the BERT program to move from 3.1 billion down to 1.5 billion, which is the worst case scenario, which are losses of what? Remember, 1.6 billion? We can do nothing and allow that. We have to create the context in which this BOSS program was created. So I say to the member, this is not 1991. We are faced with a situation. We met with the private sector only yesterday, and people are anxious for what? To get back to work. People are anxious for what? For their various businesses to begin to show some level of growth. So we can sit and do nothing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, or we can implement the BOSS program. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, this program demonstrates innovativeness. This program demonstrates leadership. And I want to reference something to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. You know, I sat and I was drawn out. The Honorable, the Sir would have called me and said, speak, you have to speak. And I made some notes. Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in 2017, the Kenyan government tried trading bonds via mobile money. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will repeat that. In 2017, and do the research, members, the Kenyan government tried trading bonds using mobile money. The member for Christchurch East Central, he understands where I'm going. Because this is a revolution. We have to change the way we do business in this country. Else, we have to throw everything through the window about being world class and being a competitive nation, improving our rating in the ease of doing business. And the member for St. Michael South Central, who's leading that charge, she can speak about those things. She chairs the meeting. We can kiss all those things goodbye if we sit down and watch the worst case scenario of $1.6 billion in revenue go down the drain. We have to create the context. We can't just come and talk about we are cutting civil servants' salaries. We are not. This is part of a wider enfranchisement model by this government. This is part of a wider enfranchisement model by this government. And let's look at it. We came to office. We had reserves as low as $450 million, right, member? Minister of Finance, member for Christchurch East Central. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. And we took our revenues to how much? 1.7 billion? Our reserves, sorry. Our reserves to 1.7 billion. 1.9. Even better. So picture this government facing the pandemic with reserves of 450 million of 6 weeks of cover. We moved to 22 weeks. Picture us facing this pandemic with only 4 weeks of reserves. Mr. Deputy Speaker, you understand what we are talking about in this Lord Chamber? What we are seeking to tell the public. We stopped the bleeding and we were able to create that fiscal space that we can engage in capital works program, that we can begin to put people back to work. And we were seeing it. But here comes Mr. or Mrs. COVID, the pandemic. Mr. or Mrs. COVID, or Mr. and Mrs. COVID, the pandemic that impacted the entire world, similar to the Spanish flu. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, we can sit and do nothing. And we begin, again, these minds went to work. The creative minds went to work and came up with the BOSS program. And I speak to a wider enfranchisement model because businesses are at this stage struggling. Persons are anxious for the reopening of the country, the borders. We have started back. Businesses have reopened. But at the end of the day, businesses can reopen, but we need to put the persons and attract people to those businesses. I have the responsibility for the small business sector. And I am telling you what we face. And I want to thank those NGOs, the Rotary Club, parliamentarians, who took it upon themselves, those groups who organized themselves, to help the average Barbadian to put food on their table. Several organizations came together, and up to Saturday, people were distributing food hampers for those persons who have lost their jobs, those persons who are below the poverty line, and who indeed were suffering. We don't let us skirt the word suffering. We had people, or we have persons in this country as a result of this pandemic who were facing some hard times and hardships. But Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for us to sit and do nothing we will be doing like the last administration. The enfranchisement model that we started, this BOSS program, will give us the fiscal space to continue along that path. And even during the pandemic, and even during this crisis, we were able to give to small businesses with subsidy. We were able to give to those businesses who are up to date with NIS some money, because we recognize that we have not only an economic responsibility to this country, but a social responsibility to the people of this country, which I think is fundamental. And I want to thank Minister Ford as well, because we often look at the frontline workers, but the member for St. Thomas was busy in her ministry looking after the disabled, looking after those persons who were on welfare, looking after those persons who form part of the mitigation plan in terms of poverty alleviation. I want to thank the member for St. Thomas, and I think she deserves a clap for that. She said, don't do that. You can't stop me from doing it, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I will do it because I pay credit where credit is due. And I would have loved to hear the member for St. Michael West pay similar sentiments, congratulatory comments to the member for St. Thomas and the member for the city, and also for the member for St. Michael Southeast. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, let me move on and give you a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. And this is fundamental, because he said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with a dirty feet. Mahatma Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with a dirty feet. That is my message to the civil servants today. That is my message to the people of St. George South today. That is my message to the people of this country today. This BOSS program is part of a wider enfranchisement model for you, the people of this country. And do not let anyone, whether in this lower chamber or in the upper chamber, walk through your minds with their dirty feet. A man is but a product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. And I leave it there. A man is but a product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes, he or she. And again, I say to you, the civil servants of this country, who have bought into the BOSS program, and to the union who have represented those workers stoutly in the deliberation, because when we speak, people believe that we just sit and everything was yes, go, and we believe that everything that was said, the union agreed with. There was good discourse. It was good conversation. And at the end, the unions refused to let anyone walk through their minds with a dirty feet, because they're bought into the BOSS program. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I came in my former life in the private sector. I joined the company in 1995. And I signed on to an employment share plan. As a young engineer, I bought shares in the company. An average boy from Ellerton, working class, bought shares in the company, because the employer saw it fit to offer every single employee, from the tractor operator to the shop floor cleaner to the gardener, had the same option as the CEO within that institution. And those of you who follow my history would know where I'm speaking about. I spent some 18 to 20 years there. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the point I'm trying to make that a poor boy from Ellerton was able to, at the end of his tenure in the private sector, this poor black boy, I often hear the member for St. Michael East talk about Ruby black boy. The member, so I will go and say, Morel the black boy from Ellerton, was able to cash in his shares to do some home improvement work 18 years after. I didn't interfere with them during my tenure because you had the option to interfere with them. And I did not interfere with them. This is a real life scenario. I am not here prophesying or anything. This is a real life scenario. So after 18 years, I was able to say, I am departing for another life to look after the good people of St. George South and to contribute to national development. Can I have my worth of shares in cash? And that was afforded to me, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I was able to, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sorry, sir, far from that.
I'm sorry.
And I was able to take that cash, my wife and I, and carry out some home improvement work. What is the story here? That working class people, should have the same opportunity as the wealthy people in this world. And I'm not only talking about Barbados. To own shares and to buy bonds. It is part of a wider enfranchisement model. And I say to you, the civil servants again, do not allow anyone to walk through your mind with a dirty feet. Do not. This program, and I will go through one or two of the tenets of this program, because I heard the member for St. Mike, for Christchurch East, please, I know it by heart, page 14. I turn to page 14 with me. What is a bond? I know it by heart. Thanks to Dr. Greenidge and the members of the finance and economic team under the astute leadership of the Prime Minister Motley for this wonderful, innovative program. It is no cut in salary. What is a bond? I heard the honorable member, and indeed he didn't read the extract prepared by one of the consultants, but he did. That's the truest thing he said today. He said, when a government sells you a savings bond, it is in effect borrowing money from you with a commitment to pay back this money at some predetermined date in the future and at a prescribed interest rate. What part of this is a salary cut in Bajan parlance? What part of this is a salary cut? You're paying back the people their money. You are borrowing the money and you're helping people, enfranchising working class people who otherwise cannot go on the secondary market to buy bonds. And worse yet, I will repeat what the member for St. Michael Northeast said and the other members who spoke before me, at 5% interest. Tell me what part of this is a salary cut. Do not let anyone walk through your mind with a dirty feet. And that's my message to the civil servants today and to the people of St. George South and to the people of this country. This program is a powerful program and part of a wider enfranchisement model of this government. It is a boss. Member for St. Lucie, thank you. It is a boss program. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we were taught as working class people to go to work, take our money and put in a bank, or put in the banks. Watch the interest, less than 1%. Can't see it at all. At 0.011%. And I'm not knocking the banks. This is a reality. This is a reality. We were taught, the working class people, the average working class man, don't trade in stocks and bonds or treasury bill. The average man, some of them can't, because some of us live from paycheck to paycheck, and we're caught up in a spiral trying to pay our bills. That is known among the average man and poor people. Those people who work in the fields, those persons who, even among some of the civil servants, because we will look at the category. That is why the category of $36,000 was a cutoff, right? Member for Christchurch Essential, because we recognize some of our civil servants want to pay their bills with their money, but we still give them the option to join the program. Tell me what part of this is a salary cut. I continue to drill that in, because when you allow people to walk through your mind with a dirty feet, what happens with you? You become tainted, and you begin to think like them. So we have to make this pellucidly clear to our people, to the public, that this program and what we heard today by the member for St. Michael West about former stalwarts of the Labour Party who represented the Labour Party in this Lord Chamber who spoke, they were speaking and protecting civil servants from a salary cut. We don't have to protect civil servants in here from a salary cut. The BOSS program that we have instituted and will implement will protect these civil servants from a salary cut. But we were taught to go to work, put our money in a bank, and watch interest, minimal interest, pile on. But it don't pile on. Being subtracted. Some would say that the savings were hibernating. When the world financial markets were going ablaze, they were hibernating. So savings are disincentivized in this current economic climate within the banking sector. And we as a government, under the powerful and great leadership of the member for St. Michael Northeast, came up with an innovative program as part of the Labour Party legacy of enfranchising working class people who never had the opportunity to trade in stocks and bonds. Mm-hmm. We are giving them the opportunity now, and we are hearing that we are cutting their salaries. Do not let anyone walk through your mind with a dirty feet. That's Mahatma Gandhi's quote.
Remember, you have 2 more minutes, and I'm really enjoying your highly intellectual speech. Very good.
It is not really
2 minutes.
intellectual. It is passionate, and it is what it is. It is a boss, because I am quoting from the boss scheme that the honorable member, that the member for St. Michael West should be looking at. I spent some time on page 14. But I want to speak to the whole enfranchisement philosophy. This is no esoteric philosophical doctrine that the member would want people to believe. This is a basic enfranchisement model by this party, by this government, where we are taking poor people and working class people and saying to you, we're investing in you, the people. We are making housing solutions for you. We have started the trust loan program for you, for the small businesses. We are trying to create an entrepreneurial culture that is nationally ingrained with international flair. Because how else can we become world class? How else can we become competitive? I quoted from a 2017 document by the Kenyan government where they're trying to use bonds via mobile money. But here we are protecting our civil servants by borrowing their money, by giving them bonds to create the fiscal space. And again, what that fiscal space will do for our citizens. And the honorable members before me spoke about it. And it is worth mentioning again, that fiscal space would provide unemployment, That fiscal space will take that micro, small, and medium enterprise sector
Employment.
and would provide employment.
Yes.
It would take that micro, small, and medium enterprise sector and continue the enfranchisement and the empowerment program that this government is about with working class people. We took the transport board workers and we formed a cooperative through the TAP program. This government provided funding so these men, the average man, can own his own bus and provide an efficient service for the people of this country. We came to office in 2018 as a government with a transport sector that was dilapidated, that was in chaos. And we said, the member for Christchurch West and the member for St. Lucie, salute me, man. Because you all took these workers, we work as a team, and that's how the member for St. Michael Northeast taught us. We don't operate in silos. It's a team approach. And we formed the TAP program. And the union supported. They'd never allowed anyone to walk through their mines with a dirty feet, because they bought into the enfranchisement and the empowerment model for those transport board drivers, that they can own their buses, and the funding was provided through fund access. And that's a part of this wider enfranchisement model and empowerment model. We took people who the last administration never wanted to invest one dime in, and we put $10 million every year through a trust loan program to start businesses in this country. Within 2 years, this program is about enfranchisement. And I say to you, the public servants, if you can buy the bonds, buy the bonds. I am living testimony of someone who bought shares in a company as a working class Barbadian, and I was able to take those resources to engage in home improvement. Moralda Sutherland's son from Ellerton St. George. Never had wealth, but I was given the opportunity through education, and I was able to take those shares after 20 years and cash in. We're only asking the civil servants for 18 months or a maximum of 4 years. This government is about creating the fiscal space to put people back to work and to enfranchise the ordinary Barbadian. And I end as I started. I will end as I started, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I say to you, the civil servants, do not let anyone with a dirty feet walk in your minds. I am obliged to you.
Very well. Member for St. James South.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It is a pleasure to rise this afternoon to share in this debate, because I believe that this BOSS program that we are launching in Barbados will make a great deal of difference to the outcomes for the Barbadian economy, for Barbadian citizens and Barbadian families. Closing down an economy is relatively easy, Mr. Deputy Speaker. You just put everybody on lockdown, send them home, tell them they can't come out, and your economy will shut right down on you. And as countries were faced with the task of responding to COVID, one of the strategies that was used to be able to bring it under control was to close down the economy. The trick, however, Mr. Speaker, is how do you open it back up? How do you do that safely? How do you do that effectively? How are you going to get your businesses moving again? How are you going to create jobs? And this is what faced every single country in the world. And to be able to do that, it takes vision, it takes care, it takes courage. And you have to stay focused and be focused on exactly what it is you need to do when you need to do it in order to be able to open up safely. I was reading the other day an op-ed where a gentleman was giving an opinion that really stepped aside from what lots of other people were talking about. If you read the literature and you watch the media, you will hear people saying that developing countries are not going to cope with COVID well, etc., etc. But he was able to point out that in truth and in fact, the health end of the crisis, that developing countries so far have actually managed that crisis well. They shut down early, they maintained a safe course, they did their contact tracing, they did all that they needed to do to contain that particular virus and to be able to snuff it out almost. And I say almost. What we are going to have difficulty doing is managing the economic part of that crisis. The op-ed went on to say that the developed world, on the other hand, had difficulty in managing the crisis, had difficulty in bringing it under control. And now we see a spike going on across the world. And that they did not manage the health part of the crisis well. But because of their resources, they will actually do better than developing countries in managing the economic part of that crisis. And that is what we are here to speak about today, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Our BOSS program is a program that is a response to how we are going to open back up our economy and get it working, get Barbadians back to work. Why? Because that pandemic brought us to a danger point. And other speakers would have shared about the shortfall in revenues, close to 450 million in government revenues, which will be needed for a number of things in the country. At risk were civil servant jobs, the delivery of civil services, of social services like education, health, and welfare. Businesses closed, close to 40% out of work, over 40,000 claims, unemployment claims, close to 14,000 persons who work directly and indirectly in tourism, not working, excessive strain on the NIS. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, as an MP, all of us in here know the pain of walking through our constituencies and seeing the impact of COVID on families. People who have no work, no income, suddenly cut. People worrying from day to day how they're going to put food on the table. People who have illnesses, who don't know, could they go to the hospital? Can they not go to the hospital? Will they be able to get care? Afraid sometimes to even go to seek that care. People who can't pay their rent, stress on businesses. And what we had in Barbados is people rising to the occasion, from MPs to charities to service clubs like the Rotary, like the Kiwanis, the Salvation Army, hotels, neighborhood groups, rising to the challenge and providing food and succor for many, many families and helping them.
The Sandilian Trust as well.
Sorry?
The Sandilian Trust.
Indeed. And sir, what they did is what every Barbadian understands. That part of our heritage, part of our value system is that we must share and share alike. And it is that quality that brought out the goodness in Barbadians as they sought to help their neighbor. And to me, they are to be commended for it. And I have to speak about that song, This Is Who We Are. I am proud of them. Proud of them. But here we are as an administration having to face what are we going to do to restart the Barbadian economy? How are we going to respond to the economic part of this crisis? Are we going to lay off civil servants? Are we going to overstaff the civil service in order to give people jobs? Are we going to go out there and borrow wildly? I say no. We are more creative than that. We are more responsible than that. Our administration, the Mayor Motley administration, is anchored by a philosophy, and that philosophy has guided every project that we have started, every initiative that we have put down, every program that has been generated by each of these ministers in this chamber. And the philosophy that has anchored us is care for the people, responsible management of their resources, and innovation in coming up with solutions to problems. And sir, I want to congratulate every one of my colleagues for the work that they have done through this crisis and the plans that they have put on the table for consideration that will help to further take Barbados away from this dilemma that we find ourselves in. And sir, the first element that we have put on the table to pull us out from where we are is our BOSS program. And I 100% say it is a BOSS move. It is a BOSS move. It is creative. It was consultative. We took time to make sure we brought along everyone with us in explaining how it would work, explaining the benefits. Now, what was it that the BOSS program needed to do? We've shared it here today already. We had to start first with, what is it you have in your hand? What is it that you can safely start with that will act as a catalyst to pull the economy out? How are you going to preserve civil servant jobs? How are you going to put people back to work by generating new jobs so that you can ease the pressure on the national insurance? How are we going to generate consumption that our businesses can have consumers come in and buy so that they can live again and they too can continue to employ people and pay taxes and bring goods to the market and export goods so that Barbados can continue to grow? And our BOSS program, as you would have heard already today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, ticks every single one of those boxes. It preserves the civil servant jobs. It creates jobs for people because we're going to be investing that money in capital projects, and those capital projects are going to give opportunity to Barbadians to get work that is going to put food on the table, is going to ease the pressure on the NIS, and it's going to create consumers who can go back into Bridgetown, go back to Old Town, go back to Speightstown and Oistins, and go in their communities and spend money with the businesses there. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, it does more. And my honorable colleague from St. George South emphasized it greatly in his speech. It is part of the enfranchisement program for Barbados. Mr. Deputy Speaker, people are going to get the 5% savings on those bonds. That is just one part of the enfranchisement of Barbadians. But with the building of those houses, Barbadians now are going to get to own house and land, to be able to shift from renting to owning. That is another phase of the enfranchisement. But it does not stop there. Contractors, small business people in this country who have sought to make a living in the construction industry are going to get an opportunity to restart their businesses, to be able to employ people, and they too will be enfranchised. Supply stores, where you buy building materials. People who own businesses that offer construction services. All of these people will receive the opportunity to be enfranchised by this particular program because supply stores are going to have business through this program. And sir, vendors who go from construction site to construction site will be able to get moving again, start cooking and preparing again, get in those vans and get off to those sites. And so with one program, $150 million, you are going to generate a lot of activity up and down the country that is going to give a catalyst to this economy. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, that is what is needed to get Barbados started again, because we've got to move the economy forward. Now, enfranchisement is more than just giving people an opportunity to own. What we are seeking to do is to gradually get Barbadians to understand that they must be more than wage earners. They must become owners. And that is why I want to support what was shared by others today, that there are other opportunities that are going to be coming for people to get involved in purchasing shares, in participating in programs that will allow them to own assets. We already started that with the TAP program. We started that with the FEED program. We started that with the $5,000 loans program that we had started. All of these things are ways in which Barbadians can participate in assets. But there are others coming up. The hotels, Hyatt, airport, the ports. The TAP program is one that we have used in order to assist people to be a part of owning something. And that is going to be expanded, and no doubt the Honourable Member for Christchurch West will speak to that when that comes up, if it needs to come up in a debate. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was grieved today. I've been hearing all week a lot of negative about the BOSS program. People seeking to cast aspersions on it in an effort really to discourage Barbadians from taking what is a really, really good program. I've shared it with my people in St. James South, and I've been encouraging those who are able to, that when those bonds come on the secondary market, that they make sure and buy some, because they're going to get better returns on their money rather than keeping it in the bank. So today I came prepared to speak to those bonds that were offered by the Sandiford administration back in 1991. I regret to say that to hear the Honourable Member for St. Michael West sharing on this in a way that anyone listening would be really discouraged from actually participating in something that could be beneficial to them. And I'll explain why I say this. Mr. Deputy Speaker, people have sought to equate the two things, that the offering of bonds then and the offering of bonds now are one and the same thing. That is far from the truth. Back in 1991, when Mr. Sandiford, the Honourable then Prime Minister of Barbados, needed to raise funds to assist an ailing economy, he did not offer to the wider public those particular bonds. He offered them to the civil servants. The reason why he could not offer it out there, Mr. Deputy Speaker, was this. The interest rate in the bank at that time would have been between 4 and 5% interest. How could you encourage anybody to take a bond, tell them they'll get no interest for the first 5 years, and they will get interest for the second 5 years? People out there are not going to take it because there's no interest that they could gain. It would have been better for the general public to keep their money in the bank. So they asked the civil servants to make a sacrifice, get no interest for the first 5 years. Mr. Deputy Speaker, when the honourable members who were in the chamber at that time listening to the proposal on bonds, when they rose to castigate it, it was because the circumstances and the conditions existing at that time would not have made it feasible for civil servants to take up a bond such as this. We're not asking them to take a bond and get no interest. We are saying that they now are faced with a situation where if they put the money in the bank will give them 0.01%, and that they could better use that money by having those bonds and getting 5% interest instead of the savings which they're experiencing now, because they're paying more in fees than they're getting in interest. They're literally paying the bank to hold their money. So chalk and cheese, complete reversal. What we are offering to people is something that will give them value for money. And for those who can afford to hold the bonds, I would want to encourage them to so do. For those who cannot hold the bonds, we understand. So many of us, our incomes are burdened. So people who choose to opt out, that is fine. But those same bonds will be made available to others in the wider public. And believe me, there are people in the wider public who are keen and interested in taking those bonds. They want to know, can't we have some? But we are in a BERT program. We have to carefully manage how much we put out into the public space. And that would be addressed, if it was not addressed by the Prime Minister this morning, it will be addressed this afternoon. And therefore, we have to carefully manage how much we ask for in our BOSS program. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, through you, I want to say to the Barbadians out there, I want to say to the civil servants out there, fear not. This program, this innovative program, is able to help us take the Barbadian economy from out of the doldrums and is able to empower us to open back up the economy again so that we can get some spending going, that our businesses can recover and we can continue to grow. Now, as I said, it is a catalyst to start the process. It's the first prong. There's more to come. This BOSS program is time sensitive. And what do I mean by that? I can only thank God, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we came to office at the time when we did. That not only did we come to office, we came to office with a plan. Mission critical activities that we hit the ground running from day one and executed them so well as to gain the respect of the international community, as to gain the respect of the regional community, as to gain the respect of Barbadians. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, it has caused us to approach this moment of COVID from a stronger position. We are at a position where we're holding several weeks of foreign reserves. We are in a position where we have access to finances. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, NIS cannot go on forever. Foreign reserves, over time, without replenishment, will drain. And this Mayor Mottley administration has no intention of sitting still, of lagging in restoring the fortunes of this economy and making sure that we can get back to a place where we are increasing our contributions to the national insurance because we're able to help the businesses get back on track, that we're earning foreign exchange because we have a program for export that is going to help this economy be able to find new markets and to be able to grow our foreign reserves. And with the increasing prosperity of our people as they go back to work, government revenues will be replenished. And we need to do that within the next 6 months, all hands on deck, working full out we intend to ensure that we can turn around what is happening in this country. And this is going to take a whole country approach. This is going to call for government leadership. And I can assure the country that the cabinet is sitting and working on programs and policies and plans to do exactly that. But this plan also requires businesses to play their part, citizens and consumers to play their part, the civil service to play their part, each man doing that which he needs to do to help make this program a success. What is it we are going to need from businesses? Businesses need to take up the program that we have put on the table. Rehire your workers. We will assist you. Buy local. As a government, we can't launch a buy local campaign in our name. But businesses and the BSOs, the business support organizations like the Chamber and the Small Business Association, they can launch buy local programs. They can encourage the citizens to buy local. They can encourage their businesses wherever they are buying goods. First, buy local, then regional. That is what needs to be done to help move the economy forward. They also need to give the consumers some ease, because some of them are going back to their jobs, but maybe getting less money, maybe getting shorter hours. So we have to ease on the prices where we can in order to allow the consumer to be able to take care of their families and to help keep the sales still rolling over in a business. Because if we can at least cover our expenses and keep our operations going, the economy will continue to grow until such time it is restored to health and we can move on to prosperity. In all of this, our workers are important. Every employee now needs to be efficient and deliver service. That how we worked before COVID now has to go into a high gear after COVID, because we need now to be very cost sensitive, to do all in our power to keep the cost of every operation down and to maximize the profit of every business. And this is going to be the responsibility of every person who works in an organization. We have to make sure that on a daily basis, all that we have done meets the need of that company to be able to take care of its expenses. That means that we need to be on time for work. We need to be on time coming back from lunch. And what is very important, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that if it is 5 to 4 and a customer turns up looking for service, don't say we're going to close. Let us do what we need to do. Invite the person in and give them that service. All of this will help companies to be able to be efficient and profitable and make sure that they make the most of whatever consumer business they have. This will help them to stay the course. Now, for businesses and individuals to do that, for the quality of service to rise, it is important that our workers engage the Star Bajan program. An online training program has been launched with a view to creating global workers, with a view to create global excellence. And every single person in Barbados needs to find something on that portal to do, to learn, so that we can raise the quality of what we are doing, so that when Barbados opens for business internationally, they find a better Barbados, a stronger Barbados, a Barbados that is able to deliver on service so that we can be competitive with the best. Why? Because everybody in the world is going to be fighting to gain whatever business is out there. So we're going to be competing with the big countries, the small countries. We're going to be competing with big enterprises and small enterprises. And we have to make sure that we are able to be competitive in that global economy. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's work to be done. And I want to appeal to our civil service. They're not only going to be the catalysts for change, as they help to create the financial space for the government to be able to get some money that we can put into projects. They're going to make all the difference to how they support businesses and individuals, how they serve them, whether it's at the welfare, whether it is at the licensing authority, whether it is in the markets, whether it's at the port, whether it is in schools, that how efficiently we work every day as a civil service is going to determine the speed at which the economy can move. It will determine an impact on how profitable a business can be. It will impact on how efficiently we deliver services to people, that people are able to continue on their journey of working to rebuild the economy. And while we are going about the rebuilding of the economy, I want to say this through you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We must operate with sense. The honourable member for the city has led the people of Barbados through this COVID crisis, helping to manage its dynamics and ensuring that we've never had a major breakout in this country. We've not been cat-spraddled, and may God help him and his team and the rest of Barbados to maintain this. We must not now destroy it by being careless now that we have reopened our economy. We have to operate with sense. We've got to wear our masks. And I want to encourage the people in Halls Village, in Durance, in West Terrace, in Haynesville, in Oxnard. Let us do what we need to do to protect ourselves, because my constituency has a very high level of people in their 50s and 60s and 70s. And therefore, many of them would be vulnerable to COVID. So that is why I want to especially appeal to them.
Remember,
but to
you
the
have
whole
2
of
minutes more.
Barbados.
2 minutes more, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I encourage you to wear your mask. I encourage you to sanitize your hands. And I encourage you to observe the social distance. Never let your guard down, because we can do this. Barbados can do this. We have the talent in the country. We have the leadership necessary to take us through. And if we use our hearts, our heads, our hands to full effect, we are going to be able to be successful and to bring this nation to a place where we will be able to prosper again. Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this truly is who we are. I'm obliged to you.
Member for St. Joseph. Member for St. Joseph.
Mr. Speaker, I promise that it won't be too long.
Deputy Speaker.
I sat and listened patiently for the most part to the Leader of the Opposition in his exhausting intervention. And I felt, sir, that it would be remiss of me if I didn't seize the opportunity to perhaps clarify some of the waters that he so intentionally tried to muddy. Mr. Speaker, I remember being a...
Deputy.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I remember being a young lawyer in the early 90s. In the early 90s, sir, when the 8% cut was imposed on Barbadian public servants. And, you know, the Leader of the Opposition sought to equate what we're doing now with what was done then. I don't know, sir, that it was fair of him to try to equate the two. He, as an aspiring politician, would have been immersed, I'm sure, in the efforts on this side, the Barbados Labour Party side, to fight against that salary cut. And I remember fairly well the history, sir. And I remember the forms that public servants had to sign to say whether they wanted to accept the cut in pay or not. And arising out of that, sir, a lady named Gladwin Ophelia King brought an action in the High Court seeking a declaration that the Reduction of Emoluments Act be declared to be unconstitutional because pursuant to that act, sir, the government of Barbados was reducing her monthly emolument by 8%. The government of Barbados in 1991, sir, was reducing the monthly emolument of public servants by 8%. Now, the leader of the opposition clearly read his book on rhetoric and how to argue and the effectiveness of tone and repetition. And he latched on to a catchphrase, a cut by any other name is still a cut. A cut is a cut is a cut. But sir, it would have been better if the leader of the opposition had begun by recognizing that there's a gulf of difference between what we're doing now and what happened to his beloved Gladwin Ophelia King. The piece of legislation then was called the Reduction of Emoluments Act, and I will repeat it, sir. It served to reduce the monthly pay of every public servant by 8%. Sir, in this boss bill, the monthly emolument of public servants will not be reduced. Now, I don't know if the leader of the opposition has a difficulty understanding that the people who we serve at the end of the month have an option of taking home every single penny that they took home the month before. Now, I don't know how that could be considered a cut, sir. Because if I was earning $1,000 a month, January, February, March, April, May, and June, and in July, sir, I walk home with $1,000 a month, having a little trouble trying to fathom how the leader of the opposition equates that to a cut. Now, I believe that his purpose here was not to put any other view, but to try and engage Barbadians in an exercise in sophistry. But that's what the ancient Greeks did. In fact, that was the highest form of argument. But it has no place today when we are dealing with a COVID environment, a pandemic that is virtually wrecking our economy, and this government is putting its shoulder to the wheel, sir, to ensure that coming out the other side, we have a Barbados that can continue to serve our individual needs. Sir, I hope that the public servants who have so far indicated their support for the bill do not falter in their commitment. A public servant will have the option monthly, and there's a reason that it is monthly, sir, because every 30 days you can change your mind. Let's begin there. In the Reduction of Emoluments Bill Act of the 1990s, you were locked into a salary cut for the entirety of the period. I think it was 18 months on that occasion. You had no choice. You couldn't change your mind, nothing of the sort. Everything about what we are doing today, sir, gives every public servant the choice. He has the choice, sir, of keeping his bond allocation. He has the choice of keeping his bond allocation. He has the choice, sir, of keeping part of his bond allocation and taking some in cash. He has the choice also, sir, of saying, I want all of my money in cash. And then he has that most glorious choice of all, sir. He can say absolutely nothing. And if he says absolutely nothing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, he gets all of his money in cash. Now, the Leader of the Opposition wants to call this a cut. I do not know how he can equate 8% less with 100%. This is almost a Dennis Kelman argument. That's exactly what it is. Because the Leader of the Opposition is arguing that 92% is equal to 100%. Now, we endured 10 years of having that drilled into our ears when we were in opposition. And I thought, sir, that those days were past when the member for St. Lucie was the honorable member for St. Lucie.
Former member.
No, when the current honorable member for St. Lucie defeated the former member for St. Lucie at the polls. Well, hopefully that will come soon, sir. Now, you know, it sounds nice to be able to say, oh, you have no choice about the bond. It is being given to you and the Act says so. But you know, one of the things about the law is that it often invites you to look at the substance and not the form. In fact, that is one of the overriding mantras of the legal profession and of the study of law. Let us look at the substance and not the form. Now remember, the Leader of the Opposition wants us to look at the language and wants us to look at the form and ignore what the substance of this bill is. Now, he's free to do so, but I believe that we could find over 300 or 400 years of jurisprudence where the courts say all the time, let us look at the substance and not the form. So the form does say that, yes, you will be allocated a bond. But what is the substance? You don't have to take it. The substance is you can still get every penny of your salary at the end of the month. And there's no fetter on that, you know. There's nothing that the honourable member for Christchurch East Central can do to stop John Brown from Checker Hall, from taking his money in cash. There's nothing that he could do, sir, to stop one of my constituents from Joe's River from taking his money in cash. There's nothing that any law in Barbados can do to stop a person from taking his money in cash. So where does the Leader of the Opposition get off thinking that he can come into this parliament and try to make people believe that there's some grievous blow being inflicted on them by the government? The member went into the Hansard and he asked the question, is this Barbados Labour Party changing its position on the Protection of Wages Act? Now, sir, the Protection of Wages Act had its genesis, as his Senator Franklin would have told him, in 1949 when the ILO developed a treaty on protection, a convention on protection of wages. And sir, the prime movers of the Barbados Labour Party found it very easy to embrace those principles. Because among the things in the Protection of Wages Act, you can't pay a man in a rum shop. Among the things in the Protection of Wages Act, you must pay a man in cash, sir. You can't give him 2 sheep and $100 bill. Those are all in the Protection of Wages Act, sir. But that act had its genesis in a time when the owners of establishments could determine how they related to labor. And we, as an early Barbados Labour Party, supported and I believe enacted the legislation to make sure that labor was protected. So if the leader of the opposition wants to posit that this Barbados Labour Party has moved away from the Protection of Wages Act, I have to ask him, how? What are those things in the Protection of Wages Act that we have so done away with that an employee in Barbados under this BOSS Act is worse off than he was? I have looked, but I can't see it, Mr. Speaker. Now, you know, we have stipulated in this bill that if there is any act, not just the Protection of Wages Act, if there is any act in our law that would serve to infringe or that would serve to nullify what we're doing here, then the act shall not apply. And yes, sir, that does relate to the Protection of Wages Act. But let us look at the substance, you see. That would relate to a person who is being forced to take something so that he doesn't get the full benefit of his wages. That is who that protects. A person who is manipulated by an employer into taking less or into taking something substantially different to what he bargained for. That does not apply here, sir. It does not apply to what we're doing because you, the employee, always has the choice of saying, I do not want what you are offering. In which case, you get cash. But he also has the option of saying, you know what? I need to put aside some money for a rainy day. So I do want what you are offering. Now, sir, in a situation where a person is prepared to accept what we are offering on even terms and with full capacity to opt out of it, then how is it that we are infringing the act? The honourable member also asked whether we are moving away from our position during the debate back in 1991 that you should not cut people's salaries. Now, in Gladwin Ophelia King against the Attorney General, the High Court of Barbados, the Court of Appeal of Barbados, and the Privy Council as the highest court of appeal in Barbados found that in the law as it stood, there was no constitutional infringement. There was no infringement of Gladwin King's constitutional rights by reducing her salary. In all three of those decisions, the courts found that while Gladwin King had a right to a salary, she did not have a right to that specific salary, and that the law was entitled, the statute was entitled to vary it downwards. And so all of our courts accepted that what the Democratic Labour Party did in 1991 to cut salaries was lawful. Mr. Speaker, then in opposition we said, when we should come to government, we are going to amend the Constitution. We said when we should come to government, we're going to repay every cent. And sir, we did. You were in Parliament at that time, Mr. Deputy Speaker. When we repaid every single penny to the public servants from whom it was taken. Yeah. And you were also in Parliament, sir, when we amended the Constitution to insert, I think it's Section 112A, where it says that you cannot change the emoluments of a public servant to his disadvantage. Yeah. We still stand by those things, sir. And that is why when we began this process of trying to find a mechanism that satisfies the government's need to be able to finance projects to keep people in food and water. You hear me about the water? Because that's in it too. We had to find a mechanism, Mr. Speaker, that satisfied our constitutional commitment. Put in simple terms, not to unfair people by taking away what was theirs. That was our constitutional commitment. We also, sir, had to find a mechanism that stood by our commitment to make sure that the Barbadians who were most vulnerable would not get hit. Our commitment, sir, to make sure that our healthcare system does not suffer. Our commitment to ensure that our school children still have a functioning school plan. And most of all, Mr. Speaker, our commitment to keep Barbadians employed. Those were the things that governed us as we developed this. The Leader of the Opposition does not like that it has been a success. The Leader of the Opposition does not like that even the people in his office, sir, are opting to take bonds. And we know who they are. You can fire them next week if you want. The Leader of the Opposition does not like, Mr. Speaker, when Labour unanimously stands up and says, we support this because we support the government's initiatives to rescue our country. You know what Leader of the Opposition would like, sir? He would like the public servants to rise up en masse and say, we don't want it. But he's disappointed. He would like all of Barbados to stand up and say that this administration is making a mess of the country. He's disappointed again. He would like Barbadians to stand up and say that there's something that he and his crew are offering that they want. But he's disappointed in that too. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and call this a boss move or a boss stroke. I will only say, Mr. Speaker, that we labored night and day to get this right. We labored night and day. We labored night and day to make sure that as the government sought to satisfy its financial imperative, that Barbadians could also benefit and see something of advantage in it. Now, you can call it whatever you like, sir. We call it hard work. We call it commitment. And this process, sir, we will also come to call a success. And if the Leader of the Opposition, with his blinkered eyes, cannot see that there's a world of difference between what happened in 1991, where a public servant was going home unable to pay the mortgage, couldn't make the car payments, couldn't send school a child. If he can't see, sir, the honourable member, I apologize, can't see that that is what was the lot of Bajan's public servants after the passing of the Reduction of Emoluments Bill, and that is to be wholly and completely distinguished from what is here now, sir, then I'm sorry for him. He can argue it all he like. At the end of the day, what is the substance of this bill? And the substance is, in every case, that every single public servant gets to make a choice of whether to take home his pay or whether to put aside something for a rainy day. I know why he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because it will work for Barbadians. I'm obliged to you.
Thank you. Very good speech. Member for St. Phillips North.
Let me know if my voice is too muffled. I will take off my mask. Thank you so much. You can hear it? Mr. Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to speak this evening. Just a few things. I want to also pay tribute in the best of ways to the Minister of Health and Wellness, who has been doing a wonderful job with respect to the COVID pandemic. I want to congratulate him and also thank the frontline workers, all of them, including the supermarket workers, the bank workers, everybody, on the wonderful job they're doing. I too agree with the member for St. James South, who gave the good advice to continue wearing your mask, and I see that the vast majority in here are wearing masks, and I hope that will continue. Truth is, COVID came out of nowhere and affected almost all, if not all, the economies of the world, while at the same time showing up basically where we needed to put in the work. And I think we did a good job. The government has done a good job in finding these holes and trying their best to fix it. This BOSS program being one of them. Truth is, we need the help. We need the help from the public service in terms of getting some money, as the Prime Minister would have said, for capital works. And the program is designed to shift the money from the wages that we could get to the capital works. But as a doctor, I am trained to look for what's wrong and what is abnormal. And here I must admit that most of it is quite good. I agree with the initiative for the most part. I also want to use this opportunity to offer my sincerest condolences to the family of the late Dame Patricia Simmons. She would have been one of my headmistresses, and I could not stand here in Parliament without saying this. She was a lady, we called her behind her back Ginger, as a term of endearment. I think it was for the color of her hair, but she commanded respect, demanded respect, and in turn gave respect. I want to pay that tribute to her. For that reason, I'm probably here going through all of these papers trying to learn a little more. But she was a beautiful and bright individual. She demanded discipline to the highest. I remember at one time, a student got suspended for what we would call a walk-up competition. It was no television, it was on the radio, but the next day, Dame Patricia suspended her. I remember the closest part to me that I can remember is when the Right Honorable JMGM Tom Adams died, and then Patricia stood on the platform in tears, and the whole room felt it. Indeed, many of us were also in tears. So my greatest sympathy, I may not be able to attend the funeral, but I extend that on the behalf of the SMSers, as they call themselves. Back to COVID and the BOSS bill now. As the PM said, it's designed to help with the refurbishment of buildings, and it's my sincerest hope that this includes the school. COVID has let us see the deficiencies we had in the buildings of the schools. Some of them are just too small, and I'm hoping that that goes to that. I'm also hoping that it goes to house repairs. In my constituency, I have several dilapidated, some very badly dilapidated houses. I hope that are in need of urgent repair, especially now in this hurricane season. And I believe that that would go there too. The roads, at this point in time, we're in so much debt and trouble that that we need it, but for the time being, I could allow that to take a back seat for now. It is my dearest wish that the small contractors get to be a part of this rebuilding. Put some of the monies into the hands of the smaller contractors. The Honourable Member for St. James South, I agree with her totally. The vendors might have a bit. The contractors, the builders. I'm a little worried about the hotel workers though. The housekeeping staff and the restaurant staff is going to be a little more difficult. But I'm happy to see that the credit unions will have a chance to invest. I had my dad, he's still alive, started the credit union movements in St. Mark's Credit Union. And he always said to me, it's better to invest in the credit union. Don't take out your money, invest or borrow from the credit union, that they make some of it. So I'm happy that they will have the opportunity to partake in this as well. But I will not be who I am if I do not bring the concerns of the constituents to the House. And while I am backing the BOSS program, definitely backing it, there are some concerns. The truth is mainly out of fear, in my opinion. There are people out there who are ill-informed, for want of a better word, about the program. There was initially a panic when there is talk about mandatorily having to take up the bonds. I have people coming into me, somebody that actually worked with me on weekends that went into serious panic because she was holding up her family who would have lost their jobs in the hotel circuit because of COVID. The 5% that we would have got, some of us took out vehicles, some of us took out mortgages, some of us increased loans for various reasons. And she was faced with the prospect of less money per month to get some of this done. And I'm happy to see that that was put in where it is optional, or should I say optional for you to opt out of the program. I'm happy about that. There's also a sense of distrust for government bonds, government debentures, government treasury bills, as one could accept the distrust. Our onus now is to correct it. People are still reeling from the treasury bills. People are reeling from the CLICO. I dare say as far back as the trade conformers, which I could barely remember, people still have that in the memory, and it's the onus on us to put in the trust, to have them trust us again. Although we probably deserve it, I think the onus on us is to educate these people, let everybody be involved. I'm seeing the unions in the newspaper article, for instance, where he said 500 people, most of which one of the leaders, one of the presidents, most of which agreed. But I've been having complaints that many members of the rest of the unions, or people who are not in the union but in civil service, have not been able to air their views on the subject. So to be fair, we need to include all of these people in terms of the talks so that everybody's on the same page. With respect to St. Philip North, many of them are already feeling stressed, and hence the distrust. They're stressed about having to contribute to other initiatives, although we may not necessarily benefit from them. I can say for sure that the constituents of St. Philip, not necessarily North and some of the other countrysides, have been definitely contributing a lot to the economy. We have graciously agreed to help pay the sewage taxes on the sewage system, although it's not used there. We probably use most of the, we probably spend most of the bus fares, so we contribute there too. So there's a sense of the middle class taking up a lot of what others can help with. We contribute a lot to the fuel taxes. Many of us work in the city. Luckily, I'm not one of them. But people need to understand that in the long run, this is for their benefit. 18 months sounds short to me. It may be worth it in the end. But people need to be mindful that it's not a lump sum payment at the end. It's added to your salary, which will increase. So while the honorable member for St. George South would have benefited from his investment in his company, in a sense, this will come back differently in that you get a little bit every month, which of course will help pay extra bills and so on. But it's a little different. We need to, the honorable leader of the opposition, although he rubbed people the wrong way, there were some points he made that were worth listening to, that were valid points, because people are still holding on to them. One of them is the fear of victimization. And the truth is, I've heard this. What if I don't take it out? What will happen to my being appointed? I have people, for instance, I spoke to a principal yesterday who honestly said he cannot opt into it because he's still being paid as a deputy principal after a year has gone. He's not seen a bit of the salary for being principal. So there are people like that that are fair, and I'm happy the Prime Minister would have addressed that earlier with respect to appointments, so that people can move on into getting their mortgages, buying their houses, buying their homes, things like that. But the basis of it is to allay people's fears. We need to educate, meet with them, consult, and inform. But on the whole, I think this is a good idea. The powers and the minds that be did a good job on it, and I support it. Thank you.
Very good speech. Thank you. Member for Christchurch Essential.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. With your permission, sir, I'll be wrapping up the debate. on the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme bill this afternoon. Now, sir, you know that I fully support this bill because having done the very hard work, sir, over the last 2 years of creating an atmosphere of confidence in this country, from a stage where, sir, nobody believed in Barbados, which for the first time in my lifetime, sir, was a complete shock. Because I grew up in a Barbados, sir, where people looked up to Barbados. Barbadians believed that we could do anything, sir. And we were brought to a point, sir, in this country where nothing seemed to work. Nobody believed that anything could work, sir. But over the last 2 years, we have been able to demonstrate to all Barbadians and certainly, sir, to the rest of the world, that Barbados, once we put our minds, sir, to any specific action and apply the focus and the discipline, sir, that we can achieve anything. And I am proud here, sir, to stand this evening to fully, 1,000,000%, sir, support this bill, because I understand, sir, that in the context of where the world is today, that Barbadians will respond in the affirmative, sir, to the call of clear, decisive leadership, sir, which 2 years ago, sir, we asked Barbadians to respond to. And they did so in their numbers, sir, such that they elected all 30 of us, sir, on the basis that we will provide clear and decisive leadership, sir, whenever it is required to move this country forward. And so, as I listen to the debate unfold, sir, and I want to thank all members for their contributions today. And I listen very carefully, sir. Listen very carefully to the honorable member for St. Michael West, who sought to somehow, sir, deflect, as I've noticed a trend, sir, in recent weeks, as we've come back to this place with a little more regularity. Deflect, because as I sat listening, sir, I could not understand any of the references, sir, that were made or to try to compare what is being presented here today with anything that was done in 1991 or contemplated, sir, in 1991. So as I sat listening, sir, I was trying to figure out in my mind how I would respond, sir, to something that seemed completely, sir, out of character, completely out of character. Because as I was listening, sir, I started to believe, this is my personal supposition, sir, but this is my personal feeling. I started to believe, sir, that the honourable member was somehow speaking on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party, because his utterances, sir, suggested to me that perhaps he had become the spokesman in this place for the Democratic Labour Party. But lo and behold, sir, and I swear to God, sir, I went into the members' room and I saw today's Advocate newspaper, sir. And I picked up the newspaper and it was on the back page, sir. And I if you haven't seen, sir, the back page of the Advocate today, and the headline said, sir, the PISA criticizes bonds. And as I picked up the paper, sir, and I'm reading it here now, in terms of what was there. In some of the references that the honourable member made with respect to it, there's a point, sir, in the article where it's quoted, sir, where Miss DePisa is quoted as saying, sir, this clears the way for the printing of money, and is this the second instance in this proposed legislation of the pitfalls of designing policy for short-sighted political points, and is also in direct opposition, sir, to the emphatic declaration by Dr. Clyde Maskell that there be no printing of money. But then it goes on to say, sir, it goes on to say that the DLP holds the view that despite all of the cute names this bond issue has been called, it represents a pay cut for public workers, she said, sir. So as I was listening to the honorable member, and I realized, sir, that there's a certain theme that seems to be developing. I don't know whether you read the Advocate, sir, or there's some sort of consultation, but it is clear to me that the honorable member seems to be in concert with the members of the Democratic Labour Party, who would at all costs, sir, associate themselves with pay cuts for public servants, because not one of them, sir, have offered a credible solution, alternative to what they would do, sir, in a circumstance where, as it stands today, sir, and I'll give you the latest information as I have it, sir, as it stands today, up to yesterday, sir, there were 48,000, sir, 222 claims for unemployment benefits, sir. 48,222 claims for unemployment benefit in this country, sir. So when we look at the context, sir, because he spent a lot of time trying to create some kind of false context for where we were today, trying to compare what was being proposed in 91 to now, sir. In 1991, sir, the Democratic Labour Party not only just cut public servant salaries by 10%, but 10,000 people went home, sir. The Barbados Labour Party, sir, ain't sent home a boy in this country, sir. But 48,000 people over the course of the last 3 months, sir, over the course of the last 3 months, 48,000 people would have lost their jobs, now claiming unemployment, sir. And you know what's the harsh reality, sir? Is that not all of them will qualify for unemployment benefit. So let me provide the honourable member and the Democratic Labour Party, sir, with more context. Because under normal circumstances, sir, with the economy as it was up until the end of 2019, sir, the unemployment fund, sir, would normally, in a normal year, would take in about $52 million, sir, in contributions. Which means that private sector employees, sir, of which these 48,000 claims are a part, sir, on a monthly basis will make contributions to the fund. Under normal circumstances, with the ebb and flow of unemployment, the fund will take in about $52 million a year and pay out, sir, $36 to $38 million a year, depending on how things go, sir. So the fund will always be in a slight surplus. But let me just provide more context, sir, because when we came to office after 10 years of gross mismanagement of the public finances and the economy was in turmoil, sir, we had to take steps with respect to the severance fund, suspension of those contributions, to divert 50% into the unemployment fund to try to replenish it, sir, as well as 50% of the severance contribution to go to training because of where we found it when we came into office, sir. So that the unemployment fund had started, sir, to get back a sense of life. Sense of life of normalcy, sir. And we did that in consultation with the social partnership. So there ain't nothing that we hide and do, sir. We came here and we did that and we explained to people why we were doing it then. And, sir, that was in the early days of coming to office. The early days of coming to office, sir, in the summer of 2018 when we did that. So let me provide more context, sir, for the honourable member. For the persons who have already, sir, received benefits from the NIS, they've already paid out, sir, $49 million, $717,000, sir, already. So let me just explain so that the honourable member will understand the context, so that members of the Democratic Labour Party will understand the context and stop talking negatively, sir, about the government's response to what we are facing here right now. Because when they tell you, sir, that under normal circumstances we will take in $52 million and pay out $36, But in 3 months, less than 3 months, sir, we've already paid out $49 million. Do you understand, sir, that if those 48,000 claims, and of which are private sector persons, are not contributing to the unemployment fund, sir, the government of Barbados, the state, has a fiduciary responsibility, sir, between now and when the 6 months period with respect to those persons and their claims, we have a fiduciary responsibility, sir, to ensure that those persons receive their unemployment benefits. And at the end of the day, sir, the state, the people of Barbados, have to honor the rights of those persons who have now found themselves unemployed through no fault of their own, sir. Through no fault of their own. And therefore, when we look at how government will respond, sir, to this, to respond to this, and the BOSS program is just one element, sir, one element of the response. Because every public servant, sir, every public servant knows somebody out there, sir, who's either unemployed now, is either the friend, the family, there's a church with them, there's in a sporting group with them, sir. Some kind of association, sir, because there are people, they may strangers, they may foreigners, sir. They are Barbadians who are now unemployed, sir, through no fault of their own. And one way or the other, we, the people of Barbados, have to ensure that they don't fall through the net. We provide a safety net for them, sir. So when the honorable member for St. Michael West gets in here to say that we are presenting a salary cut to public servants, sir, it is nothing further from the truth. Because in reality, sir, and let's make it clear, public servants, sir, are paid when private sector activity takes place. Taxes are paid into the coffers, sir, and then public servants are paid. But if you have 48,000 claims for unemployment, sir, and I anticipate, sir, I know that we've reopened and things have slowed, and I hope, sir, that will continue to slow and decline as we open back the economy. And I know that our next debate will be related, sir. But the reality is, we hope that through what we are doing, sir, knowing that with travel suspended and tourism not likely to come back in the normal way within the next 3 to 6 months, that we have to find a mechanism, sir, where we put as many of those persons back to work as possible. As many of those people back to work as possible. And therefore, the BOSS program has to be seen, sir, as part of how this entire country, sir, responds to our citizens. Because we have given a commitment that we will not leave anybody behind. Now, will things be normal, sir? Of course not. Because you know what, sir? Those persons got the same commitments that public servants have, sir. They have the same commitments that public servants have. This government, we have taken a policy position that we will not lay off anybody in these circumstances. And therefore, consequential to that decision, sir, means that we have to make certain decisions about what we need to do as a country. And therefore, understanding, sir, of the need to ensure that there is as much private sector activity as possible to match that decision, sir, means that we now have to re-engineer how we spend our money more aggressively to ensure that there's as much private sector activity taking place in this country so that we, sir, can hold faithful to that particular decision. Because, sir, there is no scenario in this country, if you could imagine, sir, if you could ever imagine that the entire private sector, sir, becomes unemployed, where would the government then get money from? That's the reality. And therefore, with such a sharp increase in unemployment, we have to respond now to ensure we can bring it down just as sharp. Because it is not sustainable, sir, if we're having 60 and 70,000 people, sir, unemployed in this country and expect that things will remain the same. So the honorable member needs to, with his affiliates, understand the context that this country really has found itself in, because none of us created this, and that we are responding now in an innovative way that will put as many Barbadians back to work as possible. But you know what, sir, was really disheartening about this whole thing? Because I have been listening very carefully to the calling programs. Well, I've heard some brief interventions in the calling programs. I'm hearing it now from the member for St. Michael West, questioning, sir, the very good work that this government would have put in the last 2 years to create confidence and trust in the people in this country again, sir. And let me just say for the record, sir, for the record, you would recall, sir, you would recall very clearly in either late 2013, sir, or early 2014, sir, when under the last government, they allowed the central bank, sir, to liberalize the minimum deposit rate and move it from 2.5%, sir, down to 0. Whatever it is now, sir. You would remember, sir. You would remember. And then shortly after that, sir, the government issued a series of savings bonds to the public without telling the public at the time, sir, that the central bank was printing $50 million a month to pay public servants. But Barbadians, seeing an opportunity, because obviously there's no money in no rates, no interest coming from the banks, took to those savings bonds. And they bought the bonds, sir. And we said at the time, sir, we said at the time that persons were being tricked because the government did not say to the public what was the basis for what they were offering to the people. And they didn't. Because if you knew that the central bank was printing $50 million to pay public servants, then you would understand the kind of state that the public finance would have been in. So that anything that's being offered on the part of the government, which at that time the credit rating was whatever it was then, sir, because they had so many downgrades, now I don't remember what the credit rating was at that particular point in time. But the point is, sir, the credit rating was getting worse. It was getting worse. But the point is this. We came to office and we announced a debt restructuring, sir. We announced a debt restructuring. But in announcing the debt restructuring, we said that because the last government, sir, had not rightfully informed those persons who bought those bonds, because you better believe, sir, they had a plan for paying them back, you know. They had a plan. So when the honorable member spoke about why a 4-year term, and not, you try to create some kind of doubt with respect to what this government is doing, we, sir, said to Barbadians that those savings bonds that were issued under the last administration would not be restructured. And we said that because the government of the day did not say what the proper financing of government was at the time, sir, that we felt it was important to protect Barbadians from the restructuring of those savings bonds. And we did that, sir, to the point that June 2020, sir, 2020, approximately 44 million of those bonds, sir, that were bought the very early set will be repaid this year, sir. And they will be repaid to those individuals, sir, because we have taken the decision that we would have stabilized, sir, the debt situation. We've put the public finances on a better footing, sir, than it ever was under the last government, sir, which then allows us, sir, to be able to manage how we treat to debt in this country. So all through this year, sir, all of those persons who bought the savings bonds, sir, in 2014 and 2015 and 2016, sir, actually it was 2015. 2015 and 16, sir, those bonds that were bought then that are maturing now, 5 years after, this government, sir, has the ability to be able to repay all of those bonds, sir, that we said would not be restructured because the last government did not properly inform of the true state of the public finances. We have been nothing but open about the state of the public finances because we said quite clearly, sir, quite clearly, that in our best case scenario, we see approximately 500 million loss in revenue this year. Our worst case scenario, which will put us at 2.6 billion, sir, for this financial year. The worst case scenario, sir, is that we only collect 1.5 billion. We've been open with the people of Barbados. And we are working to make sure that the best case scenario does not materialize, and that we do what we can do, sir, to ensure we get as much activity to get to as close to that as possible, or even better rate. Because we are not going to sit down and do nothing, sir, and hope that somebody comes along to rescue Barbados. From day one, sir, from day one, we have been working as a government, to steer a ship, sir, that has always been in choppy waters. And we were just about to break clear, you know, sir? Just about to break clear and get a little smooth sail. But you know, sir, when you got Moses, the sea is always rough. When you got a Moses, sir, the sea is always rough. But the captain, sir, the captain who's steering the ship makes the difference, sir. The skill of the crew steering the ship makes the difference, sir. And this government, over the last 2 years, sir, have been battling stormy waters. And we have been able, sir, despite of the challenges, sir, to put this Barbados economy on a better, on a sound footing. And notwithstanding COVID, sir, the fundamentals are still there. The fundamentals are still there. We hope that it is short-lived, the stoppage of activity in tourism. We hope that it is short-lived. But we can't wait until we get back to that normal, sir, that new normal, before we start to act. And therefore the BOSS program today, sir, as presented before this Parliament, as I said, is part of the response, sir, to where we are right now in terms of the adjustment that we have to make this year, and certainly over the next 18 months. So let us not, sir, confuse in any way, that which was proposed in 1991 or the context in which it was proposed in 1991. Do not, sir, be convinced in any way that the Honourable Member for St. Michael West could possibly be serious about what he may have presented this morning. Because one, sir, the Central Bank is not printing any money. If we wanted the Central Bank to print money, sir, we would have come here and we would have amended the Central Bank Act and the financial rules, sir. Those, I can't remember the specific sections now, but when we came to office in July of 2018, sir, we came to this very chamber and we amended two parts, sir, of two pieces of legislation, the Central Bank Act and Section 43 or 44 of the Financial Management of the Act, as was then, sir, with respect to how Central Bank will finance government in any given time. If we wanted, sir, the Central Bank to print money, which I saw a reference from an economist in the paper saying that the bank should print money. And the truth is, sir, it is amazing how people seem to forget so easily, sir. The Central Bank printing money is an absolute last resort, sir. An absolute last resort. But let me just make it clear for the Honourable Member. Let me make it clear for members of the Democratic Labour Party. Let me make it clear for all those in the country who are saying these things. If the government of Barbados wanted the Central Bank to print money, we would have come here, sir, and we would have made the amendment in this Parliament, as we said then, that we would do to let the entire world, sir, not just those in Barbados, know what we are doing and for what length of time we will be doing it. But we have not yet gotten there, sir. And why have we not gotten there? When we came to office, you heard the Prime Minister, sir, this morning, and then let me repeat. When we came to office, sir, we had just about $440 million in reserves. And what is critical is that we had $100 million in debt service in June, which would have taken it down, which would have been for the Credit Suisse. You remember, sir, the Credit Suisse loan in June of 2018. And therefore, had we not taken the decision to suspend the external debt. By the end of June, we would have had 300 and a little bit. And then by the end of December of the same year, it would have gone down a little further. And that was if we had continued to do that which the previous government was doing. But today, sir, and I said today, it's really yesterday. As I am looking at the report from the central bank, sir, daily gross in the National Reserve, sir, is $1 billion, sir, $993 million, sir. $7 million shy of $2 billion, sir. And we have been able to do that not just because people felt for Barbados, sir. We did the hard work. We've passed all of our targets, sir. Because there was a point, sir, where nobody would lend the government of Barbados any money because our credit rating, sir, was so poor. We were not paying refunds, sir. We were not paying people on time. As a matter of fact, sir, the government itself, sir, was not even paying national insurance contributions for the very same public servants, sir, today, who are overwhelmingly, sir, seeking to participate in this BOSS program. So when the honorable member for St. Michael West talks about we are presenting a cut to public servants, sir, the public servants understand what's going on because we have consulted with them, whether you're in the union or not, sir. You understand? Because it is important that as we go along this path, sir, that the honorable member and those who he associates with understand very clearly the difference between, I don't want to say us and them, but there's a difference, sir, between a government and a set of people who just came in here before, sir, and masqueraded as a government. This is what governance looks like, sir. This is what governance looks like. And I will take absolute umbrage, sir, to any suggestion that this is a pay cut or any stretch of the imagination, sir. It is not. And the honorable members knows that. But it's only because of the back page of the Advocate today, sir, that I now understand some of the statements of the honorable member, because he seems to either be competing or in collusion somehow or the other, some kind of confusion, I suppose, sir, in somebody's mind about what should be said in here, because I cannot imagine, sir, that what I'm reading in the paper could find itself in this place in a circumstance when all of us, sir, rub shoulders on length and breadth of this country, and all of us understood, sir, the state of the economy, because the Prime Minister, sir, myself, the honorable member for St. Michael's South Central, and the rest of the economic team, sir, briefed all of us in this place, sir, before coming to office. All of us. So it's not that any of us in here can say that we didn't really know what the situation was, and I can say, sir, that whilst some members may be not as technically involved to understand all of the nuances, we took the time, sir, as an economic team before the last election to explain to all of the members in this place, and sir, when I say all, I mean all, sir, all, as to what the path will be. And we set out, sir, a mission critical agenda upon which the government would operate. So when the honorable members made references to cut, sir, he cut himself loose from this government early on, sir. Early on. Early on. He, not any of us, sir. We ain't cut nothing. He cut himself loose. And therefore, sir, we are committed, sir, to maintaining social stability in this country. This is a part of maintaining that social stability, because no Barbadians, sir, should feel as if they are being left behind when it is not their fault, sir. I can assure you, sir, that none of those persons who are claiming unemployment now at the beginning of this year could even conceive that airplanes will not be traveling. None of us, sir. No business would have conceived that they will not be getting any revenue, sir, at the beginning of this year. As a matter of fact, sir, we were building momentum with the gathering, sir. We were really now starting to really get into rebuilding a sense of pride and community in this country, sir, in a way that has not been felt or seen for some time. And we didn't do that because, sir, we didn't have nothing better to do, sir. We understand, sir, that before we came to office, that there was a sense of despair being felt in this country. After the first 18 months or so, sir, of a hard grind, that we felt it was important, sir, that we brought the country back together with a singular purpose, sir, which is determining how we would engage the world. Determining how we can engage the world. Because we need to press on, sir, and make sure that we bring opportunity to all Barbadians, wherever they are. Whether they're here, sir, whether we engage those who live overseas, with the partnerships and collaboration, sir, that's what we got to do. And that was what the gathering, sir, was meant to be. But all that's happened, sir, is that the gathering is on pause. That's all. The gathering on pause. The gathering on pause. And whenever we come out of this COVID-19, I know the honorable member for the city of Bridgetown has been working hard to keep all of us safe, keep all of our families safe. Yeah. But the honorable member understands that there's a difference between keeping people safe and alive and people's livelihoods. And having done that very good work, sir, in containing the spread of COVID-19, all of us now, sir, have to get back to a place where we can rebuild Barbados as quickly as possible. And the honorable member understands that. But if the member for St. Michael West does not understand that, sir, and will so want to sow seeds of doubt into public servants' mind as to why they should participate, notwithstanding your financial commitment, sir, and I want to make it clear that every public servant, sir, has the choice to determine whether they want to keep the bonds or not. Every public officer has the choice to determine whether they want to keep the bonds or not. But here's the rub, sir. Here's the rub. I, sir, hope, and I'm the honorable member for St. George South, in referring to the quote about not allowing people to walk in your mind with their defeat, sir. I hope, sir, and I urge all public servants, you don't got to listen to me, you ain't got to listen to the Prime Minister, you ain't got to listen to any of the members here. I want every public officer, sir, over the course of the next few days, to go through their own personal finances, sir. And if you can only afford $25, sir, put down $25. If you can only afford $100, sir, put down $100, sir. Do not allow anybody to determine for you what you can save and what you can't. Because over the last 10 years, sir, there was no opportunity for anybody in this country, sir, to save effectively. But here's where the sinister part of this conversation is going, sir. Sir, bonds will be issued. Bonds will be issued, sir. Bonds will be issued. But the sinister part that I see creeping in, sir, is that persons want to sow seeds of doubt into public servants' minds so that they can opt out. And in opting out, sir, transfer that benefit to those who are waiting in the slip, sir, to benefit from that decision. And I say to all public servants, take out your black lead, sir. Take out your black lead and write it down on a piece of paper if you have to. Go through your finances yourself and determine for yourself how much you can afford to save in the bonds. And let me say, sir, nobody's ain't victimizing nobody about whether you participate in the scheme or not. Sir, you know, and I know, that all public officers determine how they want their money to be spent. They will go to the account section, sir, and they will say, pay this car dealer X amount of money when the month come for my car. Pay financial institution X amount, Y amount of money, sir, to pay for my mortgage, sir. They will say, pay company whatever, sir, X amount for the fridge or the stove or whatever it is that you borrow, hire purchase, sir. And the same way that public servants do that on a regular basis, this is no different, sir. When you choose whatever it is whatever your choice happens to be, you will go to your account section and you will indicate to your account section, this is what you want, just like the car payment, just like the mortgage payment, just like the fridge payment, just like any other payment that you have. And sir, not me, not you, not the Prime Minister, not any of us in here, sir, because who I tell to pay when the month comes ain't nobody else's business. That is purely a financial arrangement between you and the Treasury, sir, to determine where part of the money is to go. And these bonds, sir, if you choose to keep the bonds, it's just like any other payment that you would have for any other obligation that you may have. So there's no victimization to say, oh, so-and-so ain't buy or so-and-so get more. Nobody ain't interested in that, sir. The bonds going to be issued. What I want to have done, sir, is for people to go through their finances, determine for yourself how much you can save, and make sure you put on the money to get the savings. And do not allow fear or doubt put into your minds to have that transfer of the benefit, sir, of the interest. The benefit of the interest. Go to those who waiting in the slip, sir, because people may make a decision out of fear, may end up making the wrong decision, and therefore transferring that benefit to somebody else. And that is why it is the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme. Because we want to give you the choice to determine how much you want to be able to save based on your financial circumstances. So public servants, sir, as the Honorable Attorney General would have indicated, this is substantially different, sir, from anything that was on offer in 1991 or otherwise. Because in the same way that you set up your standing orders, sir, with the account section and the pay, until when the loan is finished, sir, when the loan done, you tell the account section, well, stop paying that there, so let me see the rest of the money. So this will work the same way. So for the next 18 months, sir, starting in July, public servants will have the opportunity at any point in time during that period to determine whether they want to take all of the allocation, some of the allocation, or increase the allocation, or whatever it is that they want. The choice is the public servants. But my plea, sir, to all public officers, take the next few days, go through your finances, and determine for yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to the Prime Minister. Don't listen to nobody else. Go through your finances yourself, sir, and determine with your family how much you can save. Because nobody is forcing you, sir, as is being suggested, to take a cut. Nobody's forcing anybody to do anything, sir. Go through your finances and determine for yourself what it is you can afford to be able to put into the scheme. And as circumstances may change, you can either go up or go down. The system is flexible enough for you to be able to do that. So long as you give the Treasury advance notice, it will be capable of execution in the same way that it happens now. Because you can't expect, sir, to go to the account section the day before payday and tell them that you want to give company X something and expect that on payday the next day that it will happen. You know how the process works. So there's nothing peculiar, sir, about the operations of the BOSS scheme. It will work procedurally, sir, in the same way. Procedurally in the same way. Now let me just say, sir, very clearly, if public servants, after looking at their finances, determine, sir, that they cannot take any of the bond allocation that they still need to continue to get all of their monies in cash as they will in June now, sir, to do what they want from July. I want public servants to understand that if in July you have to get all of your money, sir, the bond that will be issued will be sold to somebody else. And that somebody else, sir, will benefit from the interest that will be paid thereafter. If at some point between when this scheme starts, you change your mind with respect to the allocation that you may want to participate in, then just understand that once the bond has been issued and sold, that benefit now is no longer yours. You will get your money in cash, and somebody else, whoever purchases that bond, sir, will be the person who's getting the interest. So I just want to make that abundantly clear for the avoidance of any doubt at all. If you hold the bond in total or a part, as we have indicated, sir, interest will be paid in January and July, sir, on all that has been accrued up until that point. And therefore, bonds will be issued in July, bonds will be issued in August, sir, bonds will be issued in September, bonds will be issued in October, November. You get the point, sir. But in January of 2021, sir, whoever chooses, sir, to hold either all or part of the bond, sir, will receive the interest on the July bond that has accrued between August and December. They will get the interest on the August bond that has accrued interest between September and December. They will get interest, sir, on the September bond that has accrued between October and December, such that as we go forward, sir, there will be a rolling 6-month payment of interest on the bonds that have been issued and interest accrued up until that point in time. And therefore, I encourage, sir, very strongly, very, 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 very strongly, all public servants, sir, to take up their black lead, sir, and literally go through the sum, sir. Yes, it's still got black legs. And go through, sir.
We understand.
Go through. And look to see where you have a little space to be able to take up the options with respect to these bonds. Now, sir, it cannot be more clear, sir. It cannot be more clear, because least it be said, and I don't think any member has raised this before, but this scheme, sir, applies to all of us. All of us. Meaning, sir, for the avoidance of doubt, it means the Prime Minister, it means us as ministers, it means us as members of Parliament in this place, because I recognize, sir, that oftentimes when it's not said, some people may choose to focus on one part and not the whole thing. So just for the record, sir, and the avoidance of any doubt at all, remember it says here, sir, a public officer, and I'm going to the section here, public officer has the meaning assigned to it in section 117(1) of the Constitution, meaning employees of bodies corporate and established by law for public purposes, sir, which are funded by monies voted by Parliament. B, sir, members of Parliament. And members of Parliament, sir, means the Prime Minister. Members of Parliament means ministers, sir. Members of Parliament means just that, members of Parliament, sir. Members of, and it includes the Leader of the Opposition too, sir. And I know that he ain't gonna opt out. He ain't gonna opt out. He ain't gonna opt out. Huh? He ain't gonna opt out. He ain't gonna opt out. Members of the Senate, sir. Government consultants, temporary employees, sir, ambassadors, the full list, sir. All contract officers of the Crown, sir, members of the BDF, the clerk, the deputy clerk, staff, and employees of Parliament, sir, the ombudsman, it is here, sir. So that when the media and everybody starts to talk about what the government has passed, it applies, sir, to all of us. All. From the Prime Minister, sir, at the top of the emoluments for government, all the way down to Z, I think it's Z38, I think, sir, is at the bottom of the pay scale, sir. Right? Now, sir, just to be clear, For those persons whose net income is $36,000 or less, sir, whilst there's no immediate, their participation is not immediate, they too, sir, can opt in to the program, having gone through their finances, sir, and determined that I could put in a little $50 or $100 when the month comes, sir, that they too, sir, can benefit from this program. I know, sir, as you know, there's a cap of 8.5 million, which we will issue every month. And therefore, sir, whilst in the bill, it gives some guidance in terms of those persons between, I think it's 36,000 and 50,000 in terms of the net, which is in the schedule, sir. Between 36,001 and 50,000, sir, the indicative guide, sir, is 7%. Between 50,000 and 100,000, sir, per year, 12%, and over 100,000, sir, 17%. Now, sir, these are indicative guides. Simply because, sir, if the demand, and sir, as I said, this is a flexible mechanism because it is as participatory as possible, sir, as possible. And as you know, sir, retired public officers can also participate in the program as well, sir. But whatever happens, sir, whatever the final thing is, and that's why you have computers, sir. And I know I made a reference earlier to Blackledge, sir, but we have computers in terms of we have computers these days, sir. We'll do these things quite quickly. But once we know, sir, what the choices of people, the public officers are, the entire suite, sir, subject to the cap of 8.5 million per month, sir, we may have then to, because there may be some persons who may wish to augment their holding with respect to the bond, sir, and therefore we will prorate accordingly to make sure that we do it as fairly as possible and as proportional in that way. Why, sir? Because the choice is important, sir, at this stage, so as not to be accused of giving preferential treatment to a particular person or a particular entity, sir, because at the end of the day, we have come into this, sir, in a process of consultation, and therefore the absolute final allocation, sir, will be subject to what is the demand, but everything is capped by the $8.5 million per month, and however that $8.5 million in bond issue, sir, is reached, we will then reallocate accordingly. But we are giving every public servant, sir, because, and I'm responding specifically to the members' question about why the specific percentages. Now, when we look at the data, sir, and based on the rationale that we brought to this, we understood we need a certain target in order to be able to do what we have to do in terms of capital expenditure. So the issuance of the bond, sir, predicated on those persons within those salary ranges being a part of the program. But we have made it flexible enough, sir, to be able to accommodate the choices of people while still being able to meet the target. And I know that perhaps the member for St. Michael West and his associates have not yet caught up. And the truth is, sir, by the time they catch up, the 18-month period would be over, and people would already have been starting to receive certainly their interest, and would be quite happy to know that they have participated in a program that is really to the benefit of Barbados. But this, sir, is important because the country now finds itself in a situation where we have, sir, to respond to a very clear threat to the social stability of Barbados. And in the context where the government has to ensure that the unemployment fund, over the course of the next 4.5 months or so, sir, has to pay those claims, that we understand, sir, that we have to find a way to stimulate as much activity in the private sector, sir, to be able to reduce that. so that we can get the economy, sir, going, so that whenever the tourism season, the tourism activity can come back, and the associated activities with tourism comes back, that we are in a position now, sir, where we can really start to take off. And we're not going to be waiting, sir, until that happens in order to make decisions. We have determined that this is one path, one lane, I should say, one lane on the track upon that we will be pursuing, sir, in order to ensure that we can reach the appropriate destination. Now, sir, to say that this has been a labor of love is an understatement, sir, because in understanding public finances, sir, and recognizing that this is an opportunity for public servants who we give a negotiated of 5% increase upon coming to office, sir, that even in these circumstances, sir, as harsh as the environment may be, that we can craft out options, sir, for them to save.
Remember, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay. As well as creating an atmosphere for stability in the country, sir, that we are in a position, sir, to be able to bring this part of this piece of legislation to this chamber, having consulted, sir, widely within the context of the social partnership and with the labor union, sir, in order to ensure that we come up with a solution that is truly Barbadian. And the reality, sir, is that there are some out there who don't like the fact that we have continued, sir, what we did in opposition by engaging and consulting with the people. We've done that in opposition. We've done that in government, sir. And there's some people who fear that because what you see is what you get. And therefore, there's no difference between what this party has been able to deliver for the people, whether in opposition, sir, and in government, because we've continued, sir, along the same path, which is to consult people, sir, to bring as many people into the conversation as possible, whilst at the same time, sir, being able to make decisions. Because whilst it is very important to consult, sir, time is critical. And as the Prime Minister said, sir, we have been meeting Sundays, Mondays, bank holidays, sir, morning, night time. Not just the government, sir, but the people involved, because the people care about the outcome for citizens in this country. And I, sir, am proud to be part of an administration, notwithstanding this, sir, the strain it has on your family life, sir, and all kinds of other commitments that one may have. I am proud, sir, to see that there's a level of commitment at this time, sir, not just by the government, but certainly, sir, by the wide range of stakeholders within the social partnership, sir, within the various interests in the country, because I believe, sir, that every Barbadian is prepared, sir, to put in their 2 cents, sir, to make sure that we can complete this mission relatively unscathed. And so, sir, I fully support this bill. 1,000,000%, sir. 1,000,000,000%, sir. 1,000,000,000,000%, sir, support this bill. And when this unfolds, sir, I will end on this point and reiterate again, sir. I want every public servant, over the course of the next few days, to carefully look at their financial situation, sir, and to determine for themselves, however small, however large, sir, determine for themselves if it is $25, if it is $50, sir, no matter the size, sir. Nothing is too small, sir, as my grandmother used to tell me, sir, to set aside for a rainy day. Go through your finances and find a little something, sir, to put aside in the bonds. And I know that this government, having worked hard over the last 2 years, sir, will continue to work hard to boost economic activity, sir. And no matter what comes our way, sir, this government will be committed, sir, to engaging the people and to bringing options and solutions that will benefit the people of Barbados. And with those few words, sir, I'm obliged to you.
Beg.
Yeah. I beg to move, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
Someone second it, please? Seconded. The question is that this bill be read a second time. All members in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
I beg to move, sir, you do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself in committee for further consideration of this bill.
Second. Question is that I do not leave the chair and this House resolve itself in committee for the further consideration of this bill. All members in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Far enough for you. Far enough for you. Sit down. This House is now in committee.
Clause 1.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 1 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clause 1 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
You got a second?
Yeah, somebody did. I forget who it was. Somebody seconded it. Kirk?
Clauses 2 to 5.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clauses 2 to 5 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clauses 2 to 5 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clauses 6 to 10.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clauses 6 to 10 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clauses 6 to 10 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clauses 11 to 13.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clauses 11 to 13 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clauses 11 to 13 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 14.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 14 stand part.
No, there's an amendment. I'll give you.
That's amended.
Sorry.
16.
Yeah.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
No.
It's fine, it's fine.
So where we at?
It's 16.
Somebody seconded it?
It's 16, not 14.
14? He said it already on second? Okay, question is that clause 14 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 15.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 15 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clauses 15 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 16.
Madam Chair, I beg to move an amendment to clause 16 and wish to delete subclause 4 and substitute the following therefore to read any request for an allocation of bonds, A, by a public officer in excess of his bond allocation, B, by a person referred to in section 16(1) or 2, shall be allocated on a pro rata basis.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clause 16 stand part with amendment. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 17.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that clause 17 stand part.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clause 17 stand part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
First schedule.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the first schedule be the first schedule to the bill.
Beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that the first schedule be the first schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Second schedule.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the second schedule be the second schedule to the bill.
on that.
Question is that the second schedule be the second schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that you do no report to His Honor the Deputy Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
With amendment.
Sorry, with amendment.
Ms. Cynthia?
Second.
Second amendment.
Question is that I do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee with amendment. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All honorable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it. Or His Honor the Speaker.
Yes.
The chairman of committees has reported the passing of one bill with amendments in committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move this bill be now passed and cited as the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme Act 2020.
Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, this bill requires the vote of 2/3 majority under Section 49(2) of the Constitution. If we were in our normal place at Parliament, we would have rang a bell, but we don't have a bell. So I just ask the Marshal to make sure that everybody is actually in the precincts. And for those members who are not at a desk where there's a mic, when the names are called, we're going to use the mic in the center there. Ready? Miss Motley?
Aye.
Miss Bradshaw?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Miss Ford, sorry. Miss Ford, sorry. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Lieutenant Colonel Bostick?
Aye.
Your Honor, Mr. Clark? Aye. Mr. Hinkson?
Aye.
Mr. Rowe?
Aye.
Mr. Sutherland?
Aye.
Mr. Prescott?
Aye.
Dr. Duguid? Reverend Atherley?
Nay.
Ms. Husbands?
Aye.
Mr. Weir?
Aye.
Mr. Abrams?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Strawn?
Aye.
Mr. Phillips?
Aye.
Dr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Cattle?
Aye.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Griffith? Oh, this is
Aye.
Mr. Goodenedgel?
Aye.
Mr. Toppin?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Thorne?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 28, honorable members voted in favor of the bill. There was one vote of no. Therefore, in accordance with Section 49(2) of the Constitution, the bill is passed.
The bill is passed as per Section 49 of the Constitution. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the sitting be suspended for 10 minutes and we can return at 7 o'clock.
Wait a second, ma'am, sir.
Question is that this honorable chamber stands suspended until 7 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 7 p.m.